Chapter 933. As Qin Yiru spoke, she habitually walked over and reached out to take the big black bag from Yunjian's hands. Usually, when Yunjian bought clothes, Qin Yiru would take the big bag that Yunjian brought back from shopping to have a look. Sometimes, she would also touch the fabric to see if it was durable or not. People of the parents' generation had a hard time when they were young, especially Qin Yiru. Even though the family was rich now and bought clothes and other things, Qin Yiru still habitually reached out to touch the quality of the clothes, to see how long they could last, and to feel the texture of the clothes to see if they would pilling. Therefore, when she saw Yunjian come back with the big black bag, Qin Yiru habitually thought that Yunjian bought clothes. She also habitually reached out to take the big bag from Yunjian's hands, and then poured out the clothes inside to have a look. If it was in the past, Yunjian would definitely reach out the bag to Qin Yiru. However, the clothes in the bag were not normal clothes. How could she pass the clothes to Qin Yiru? If Qin Yiru saw the things in the bag, how could she explain it? Ahem, Mom, I just promised Guxian that I would go play with him. I will put the things upstairs first. As Yunjian spoke, she carried the big black bag and ran upstairs as fast as she could. This child, why are you running so fast? Mom is not the plague. Qin Yiru smiled with relief. From her expression, it could be seen that Qin Yiru did not suspect anything. After a while, Yunjian came downstairs, but Yunjian did not have the big black bag in her hands. Qin Yiru naturally did not suspect anything. Mom, I'm going out, Yunjian said and left the place. Hey, you have to worry about yourself going out in the middle of the night. Qin Yiru called after her. The night wind was chilly. Just as Yunjian stepped out of the house, she felt a gust of cold wind. Yunjian pulled her clothes together, not looking that cold. Longmen City, Yuanbao Mountain. Yuanbao Mountain was a racing track by the cliff of Longmen City. There were many racing tracks in Longmen City and Yuanbao Mountain was not necessarily the best one. However, Yuanbao Mountain was definitely the steepest mountain. The reason why countless racers chose to race at Ingot Mountain was because racing at Ingot Mountain was steep and exciting enough. Yuanbao Mountain was not filled with Yuanbao like its name, but it was undoubtedly one of the steepest mountains in Longmen City. What was racing? Wasn't the game just exciting? It was 7:30 in the evening, but the steep cliffs of Yuanbao Mountain were illuminated by bright lights. The racer's race was just the racer's race. Guxian was still standing where he was, checking his racing car with his two friends to see if it was fully equipped. This Maserati was recently remodeled by Corentin. Guxian was here today to see if this Maserati was good or not. Xian, it'll be our turn soon. One of Guxian's two friends said to Guxian. Guxian had brought 3 friends home this time. One of them was Shenjia, who was hospitalized after being beaten up by Yunjian. The other 2 were not bad. Guxian nodded and put on his helmet. Just as he put on his helmet, a group of people who looked more like hooligans than Guxian surrounded Guxian and his friends. The hooligan who stood at the front had a scar on his face, adding to his ferocity. Chapter 934. Guxian himself had dyed his hair red, yellow, blue, and green. He looked no different from a local ruffian. His red, yellow, blue, and green hair made Guxian look like a gangster. Therefore, when these gangsters surrounded Guxian, they treated Guxian as one of their own but from a different faction. When people of the same trade met each other, they would usually treat each other like enemies. Therefore, these gangsters who surrounded Guxian looked ferocious. One of Guxian's 2 friends was a foreigner while the other was from country Z, including Guxian himself. There were only 3 of them. Guxian's eyelids twitched when he was surrounded by these people. The gangster who stood at the front had a scar on his face and a crew cut. He looked strange as well. Standing in front of Guxian, he was much shorter than Guxian. It was probably because he could only see Guxian's chin when he raised his head. This made the gangster with a scar on his face and a crew cut very dissatisfied. F***ck, how dare you look down on me? Do you know who I am? Do you know Falcon Hall in Longmen City? My big brother is one of the higher-ups in Falcon Hall. Who the F***ck do you think you are? How dare you look down on me? Men, beat him until he's on his knees. The crew-cut hooligan opened his mouth very arrogantly to show off his power. We're new here and don't know the ways of the world. Please bear with us. Guxian was smart enough to speak up when he thought of this. If they were overseas, Guxian would have formed many gangs, but there were only 3 of them who came back this time. The best fighter, Shenjie, had already been sent to the hospital by Yunjian. There were only 3 of them left now. Guxian knew that it was useless to put on a brave front, so the best thing to do now was to make peace with these people who were obviously here to cause trouble. Ha, at least you have a good eye. The crew-cut man sneered at Guxian. He looked up at Guxian, spitting saliva all over Guxian's face. Guxian knew that the other party had the advantage in numbers, so he could only swallow his resentment. Next match, You're going to compete with our brother Guang, aren't you? The crew-cut man finally got down to business. Before Guxian could say anything, the crew-cut man continued, if you dare win our brother Guang in that match, don't think about leaving this place today. I'll make sure you won't be able to come back alive. The crew-cut guy threatened fiercely. As he spoke, the man with the crew-cut walked around Guxian and stopped in front of the Maserati. The crew-cut guy led a group of people to the front of the Maserati. He patted the sports car and said even more arrogantly, Yo, this car is not bad, right? Lend it to our brother Guang, how about it? He did not allow the other party to refute him. Guxian clenched his fists. He could not hold it in any longer. Screech. At this moment, a fiery red limited edition Ferrari sports car suddenly rushed up from the bottom of the hill. The sports car was like a gust of wind. Its speed was maximized, and it arrived in front of the crowd at lightning speed. The crew-cut man and the others were stunned. Even Guxian was shocked. Whose car was this? How could it be so fast? It was twice as fast as Mr. Corentin's modified Maserati. In other words, it was 4 times better than an ordinary sports car. Guxian was also shocked. However, at this moment, the door of the Ferrari sports car opened and Yunjian stepped out of the car. She turned off the listening device installed in the Maserati sports car to eavesdrop on the conversation between Guxian and the hooligans. As soon as she got out of the car, Yunjian leaned lazily against the side of the Ferrari sports car. Looking at the hooligans, her eyes instantly turned cold. Chapter 935. From Yunjian's appearance to Yunjian's words to protect him, Guxian's heart was beating wildly. This was different from love and friendship. This was a form of protection from family. Guxian was not afraid to admit that at this moment, he felt tears welling up in his eyes. It felt as if his heart was suddenly hit by a warm wind. Guxian had never experienced such a feeling before. His eyes could not help but turn red. Even his biological mother had never protected him like this. Today, Yunjian, his sister who was not related to him by blood, actually stood out to protect him. Because he was momentarily moved, Guxian did not even notice that Yunjian had said, my Falcon Hall. Because Yunjian was young, the crew-cut guy and the rest did not even notice that Yunjian had said, my Falcon Hall. However, it was undeniable that Yunjian's speed had indeed shocked the crew-cut guy and the rest for a while. However, when they thought about it and saw Yunjian's delicate and beautiful face, the crew-cut guy and the rest suddenly relaxed. Yo, where did this little girl come from? Why is she so pretty? The crew-cut guy whistled, then led his group of hooligans to Yunjian's side and surrounded Yunjian. What are you doing? Seeing this, Guxian forgot about his initial intention of showing weakness. Although it was obvious that Yunjian was very skilled when she beat up Shenjie, Guxian only treated Yunjian as a younger sister who should be protected. Guxian quickly rushed in front of Yunjian and blocked the crew-cut guy and the rest. Heh, kid, do you have a death wish? The crew-cut guy cackled when he saw Guxian shielding Yunjian. These hooligans were notorious in Longmen City. They liked to tease pretty girls when they saw them and take them away by force when they got the chance. It was even common for them to rape a girl together. In spite of this, they were from Falcon Hall and the boss the crew cut guy mentioned was a higher-up in Falcon Hall. Therefore, no one dared to stop them even when they were stirring up trouble. Clenching his fists, Guxian gritted his teeth and said, "You guys can take the car." Mr. Corentin modified it. Guxian loved the Maserati sports car that Corentin had modified, to the point that he loved it as much as his own life. If Yunjian had not shown up today, Guxian would not have handed over the car even if he had to fight these hooligans to the death. After all, Guxian's love for this Maserati exceeded his love for his own life because it was Corentin who had personally modified it. However, Yunjian had shown up today. Looking at the crew cut guy and his gang, Guxian knew that they looked at Yunjian differently. Yunjian was skilled and had even entered her father's military training camp. However, no matter how good Yunjian was, she was only a girl. There were about a dozen people in the crew cut guy's gang. How could they possibly be a match for them? Therefore, Guxian reluctantly gave up the car and would rather have the crew cut guy drive the Maserati away to divert their attention from Yunjian before leaving with Yunjian. In short, the crew cut guy and his gang must not turn their attention to Yunjian. Yo, kid, you actually have a sports car modified by Mr. Corentin? The crew cut guy jumped in surprise and went to touch the Maserati. Chapter 936. The crew cut guy did temporarily shift his gaze from Yunjian to the Maserati, but it was only temporary. How could the crew cut guy let go of a girl's looks when they had taken a fancy to her? "Sister, what are you talking about?" Guxian was shocked by Yunjian's words. He quickly turned to the side and whispered to Yunjian in the softest voice. Guxian had learned a lot of martial arts, but he knew that he was no match for the crew cut guy, who was originally a hooligan and was good at fighting. He had not reached the level where he could take on more than 10 people. Moreover, a great man knew when to yield and when to stand tall. Originally, Guxian did not intend to tolerate being insulted to this extent. However, he had to tolerate it now. He still had Yunjian on his side. Moreover, wasn't it all because of Yunjian that Mr. Corentin could modify the Maserati sports car? Just based on this point, Guxian would protect Yunjian at all costs. It was because he was Yunjian's brother now too. However, while Guxian was doing this, the crew cut guy finally reacted to Yunjian's words. F***CK. How dare you say that my hands are dirty? The crew cut guy raised his voice. From the sudden ferocious expression on his face, it could be seen that he was really angry. Isn't it? Don't tell me you sprayed perfume on your hands. Yunjian did not mince her words at all. She then added, even if you sprayed perfume, your hands are still dirty. Pfft. Just as Yunjian finished speaking, Guxian's other brother, who was standing beside him, could not help but laugh out loud. Seeing Yunjian's serious look and suddenly hearing Yunjian's black-bellied words, Guxian's brother could not help but laugh out loud. F***CK. Hearing what Yunjian and Guxian said, the flat-top guy got even angrier. B***TCH, I'm going to kill you. The man with the crew cut said. He raised his hand and wanted to rush over to give Yunjian a slap. However, before he could raise his hand, a hooligan with a crew cut ran out from the side of the path. Just as the crew cut guy was about to slap Yunjian, the hooligan pulled him back. He even whispered a few words into the crew cut guy's ear. Just as he said a few words, the crew cut man's expression changed. F***CK, count yourselves lucky. Kid, if you dare to beat my brother Guang later, you're dead meat. The crew cut guy didn't forget to say these words before he left. After that, the crew cut guy said to his brothers, let's go. With that, the group of people swaggered out of the place. Yunjian didn't stop her. In spite of it, Yunjian's gaze darkened. Since when did her Falcon Hall have such a piece of trash? It seemed like she had to get rid of them completely. Sister, are you okay? Once the crew cut guy and his gang left, Guxian was afraid that Yunjian would be frightened, so he turned to look at Yunjian. Yunjian shook her head slightly. Then, she walked to her Ferrari and knocked on the hood of the Ferrari. She turned to Guxian and said, "Do you want to try this car of mine? It's twice as fast as Corentin's modified Maserati sports car." "Twice as fast?" Guxian exclaimed in surprise. After all, Corentin's modified Maserati sports car was already shocking enough. However, he had seen Yunjian's speed just now. Thinking of this, Guxian couldn't help but ask, which master modified this car? Who modified this car to be twice as fast as Master Corentin's modified car? Chapter 937. Hearing Yunjian say that the car was modified by her in such a situation, she was stunned. At this moment, Guxian did not think that Yunjian was lying at all. Yunjian saw that Guxian did not say anything. She pursed her lips and smiled. "You don't believe me? I believe you." This time, it was Guxian who spoke with conviction. He really believed her. Yunjian could invite Mr. Corentin here and even make him beg to be Yunjian's disciple. What other reason could there be? There was no other reason except that Yunjian had more advanced mechanical skills than Mr. Corentin. Yunjian pursed her lips and smiled. Then she patted her Ferrari sports car and finally said to Guxian, "Go ahead. Don't worry about winning the race. With me around, those people won't dare to do anything to you." Guxian felt a warmth in his heart when he heard Yunjian's words. It felt like he was being protected by a family member. Even though Guxian thought that Yunjian was lying when she said that she could help him win the race without worry, Guxian was satisfied because he also experienced the feeling of family. "Okay." Guxian nodded heavily at Yunjian. Then he took the car keys from Yunjian, got into Yunjian's Ferrari sports car, and watched it go to the racetrack. Racing was Guxian's hobby, so he naturally would not be intimidated by the crew cut guys group. Even though Guxian had lowered his head just now, it did not mean that he would give in to Brother Guang on the racetrack. He would definitely win today's race. As she watched Ge Xian drive away, Yunjian suddenly crossed her arms. She turned her head and glanced at the two Guxian buddies who were still standing there. "You're not leaving?" Yunjian took 2 steps towards the edge of the racetrack. Then she turned her head to look at the two people. "Leave? Where are we going?" Guxian's 2 buddies looked honest and considerate. One of them was a foreigner, and the other was from country Z. Perhaps it was because they had seen Yunjian's strength before, so when they saw Yunjian, they stood respectfully. "Let's go to the starting point of the racetrack to watch the race," Yunjian said as she led the way to the starting point of the racetrack. The 2 men from Guxian were stunned. In the end, they followed Yunjian to the starting point of the racetrack. Many people had gathered at the starting point of the racetrack. Yuanbao Mountain had specially set up a spectator stand to allow those who were interested in racing to watch the race. Of course, there were many large screens hanging in front of the spectator stands. These screens showed the steep and winding mountain range of Yuanbao Mountain. Yuanbao Mountain's competition points were specially managed by the organizers. On the winding mountain range of Yuanbao Mountain, there were surveillance cameras set up at every point. And these surveillance cameras captured the racers' paths, which would be reflected on the large screens in front of the spectator stands. As long as one sat on the spectator stands, they would be able to see the entire race. Where are you going?" Seeing that Yunjian did not walk to the spectator stands, one of the 2 men from Guxian, who was from country Z, could not help but ask. "I'm going to place a bet." Yunjian pursed her lips and smiled. Then Yunjian's figure flashed. Not long after, she arrived at the place where bets were placed. Racing was an exciting and fun game. However, there were also betting stations set up at the racetrack. In other words, for one-on-one racing, those who did not participate in the race could come here to place a bet on which side would win. If the side who bet won, then they would receive the corresponding compensation. Chapter 938. Seeing Yunjian walk over to the betting station, Guxian's 2 buddies hesitated for a moment before following her. At this moment, the betting station was already full of people. Other than watching the racing competition, most people would choose to come here to place their bets. Everyone liked these kinds of exciting bets. But the people standing at the betting station were all men without exception. Generally, women wouldn't come here to place their bets, so the people standing at the betting station were all men. So when Yun Jian walked over, she became the focus of everyone's attention. Because just by looking at Yun Jian's appearance, one could tell that she was young. Everyone present could tell at a glance that Yun Jian was underage. "Hey, little girl, are you here to place your bets too? Why don't you go home early and come here to place your bets? This is what adults do. Go away, go play somewhere else." Seeing Yun Jian walking over, one of the men who was waiting in line to place his bets waved at Yun Jian. This man was probably bored, so when he saw Yun Jian walking over, he wanted to tease her. It was a good opportunity for the people around to see that an underage girl actually came here to place her bets. Hearing the man's voice, the people around turned to look at Yun Jian. Even the manager of the betting station couldn't help but step forward to persuade Yun Jian when he saw her. "Little girl, the viewing platform is over there. You've gone to the wrong place." Upon hearing the manager's words, the surrounding group of people also retracted their gazes. If this little girl had gone to the wrong place, then it would be fine. But if such a young girl really came here to place her bets, then it would be scary. Just as the people around thought of this, Yun Jian had already arrived in front of the betting station. The people who had just looked away couldn't help but look at Yun Jian again, and at this time, they were all shocked. Could this underage girl really be here to place her bets? However, just as everyone present was thinking this, Yun Jian moved her red lips and smiled indifferently. "Place your bets." As Yun Jian spoke, she took out a bank card from her pocket and gently placed it on the betting table. As soon as they heard that Yun Jian wanted to place a bet, the surrounding people didn't care about Yun Jian cutting the queue at all. What was wrong with this world? Even underage girls came here to place bets. However, just as everyone thought of this, Yun Jian's voice sounded again. 10 million for the red Ferrari sports car over there." Yun Jian pointed at the Ferrari in the distance that was ready for the race. Gu Xian was already waiting in the preparation area. The next round would be between him and Brother Guang. However, when Yun Jian uttered the words 10 million, everyone around her took a deep breath. 10 million? 10 million. Heavens, did they hear it wrong? The people who were lining up to place their bets were either the bosses of some companies or the sons of very rich families. Or some workers who were looking for entertainment and didn't have much money in their pockets. Of course, the bets were not divided into big or small, but the highest record of betting here was only a few million. At the very least, the group of people standing in front of her would only bet a few 100,000 at most, with tens, hundreds, or thousands of yuan at most. Originally, the people present felt that it was strange enough that an underage girl like Yun Jian came here to place a bet. But what did she say? 10 million? Was this a joke? Chapter 939. Even if it was 10 million Chinese yuan, it was the fortune of Longmen City's big boss. After all, such an amount was already considered huge in 1999. Back then, those who had more than 1 million yuan in savings were called millionaires. That was how millionaires came to be. It was different from modern times. If one had 1 million yuan back then, they would be at the top of the world. What about Yun Jian? She wanted to bet 10 million right off the bat. She even added US dollars at the end. If converted to Chinese yuan, it would be 60 million yuan. Oh my God. 60 million yuan was close to 100 million yuan. If it was 1999, 100 million yuan worth of assets would definitely make the list of the richest people in Longmen City and even the entire Zhe province. Hearing Yun Jian's words, the two men from Gu Xian nearly fell to the ground in shock. Gu Xian's two buddies had originally planned to bet a few hundred yuan on Gu Xian. However, compared to the 60 million yuan that Gu Xian's younger sister had bet, the men from Gu Xian stuffed the few hundred yuan back into their pockets quietly. Little girl, this. The manager of the betting station had never met anyone who bet 60 million yuan in one go. He was stunned by Yunjian's action and only stuttered after a while. "You can register now." Yunjian did not care about the manager's reaction as she urged him. The staff member's hands trembled, but he accepted the card anyway and said out of goodwill, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry." "Little girl, do you really want to bet on that red Ferrari?" The person who's going against the Ferrari is a higher-up in Falcon Hall. People call him Brother Guang. He's famous and he's never lost since he came to the racetrack. "You." "I'll bet on it," Yunjian said before the manager could say anything else. "All right." The manager naturally listened to Yunjian and went through the procedures for Yunjian with trembling hands. After Yunjian placed her bet, she took the betting slip and went to the viewing platform. "Sister Guxian, I'll buy you a bottle of juice. There's a vendor over there with a cart." One of Guxian's buddies walked up to Yunjian and flattered her. "No need." Yunjian pursed her lips and smiled at him. Then, she walked into the viewing platform. From the viewing platform, one could clearly see the winding racing track of Yuanbao Mountain on the large screens in front of them. At this moment, the red Ferrari driven by Guxian was already side by side with the Audi sports car driven by Brother Guang. "It's starting, it's starting." The two guys from Guxian hugged each other and screamed excitedly. Yunjian crossed her arms in front of her chest as she watched the Ferrari and Audi race side by side. Until the referee pointed the air gun at the sky and fired. At the same time, he waved the little red flag in his hand. Then, the two sports cars drove out at the same speed as the wind. After just a short while, the red Ferrari sports car had a huge lead over the Audi sports car. The two sports cars quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Then, they appeared on the large screens in a short while. After a few dozen turns, the Audi sports car was about to catch up. It had to be said that Guxian's driving skills were still lacking. However, the Ferrari sports car's speed allowed Guxian to be one step ahead. There was a turn at Yuanbao Mountain that could avoid the large screens that the audience was watching. At this moment, Brother Guang, who was driving the Audi sports car, looked fiercely at the red Ferrari sports car that he was following closely but could not overtake. Brother Guang suddenly smiled evilly. He suddenly thought of an idea. Chapter 940. At this time, Guxian, who was driving the Ferrari in front of Brother Guang, did not realize that he had been targeted by Brother Guang. He had never considered the possibility of danger before. Car racing was a thrilling competition, and at the same time, there was a certain degree of danger in racing. Especially when racing on a dangerous cliff like Yuanbao Mountain, if the car was not careful, it could crash down the cliff. Yuanbao Mountain was a mountain that was hundreds of meters above sea level. If the car crashed down the cliff, there was only one result for the person, and that was to be smashed to pieces. Therefore, under such circumstances, even if the racer did something to the other racer, no one would know. Brother Guang gave a sinister smile. The corner of the hill was in front, and there were no surveillance cameras at that corner. If he did not slow down and instead sped up, he could catch up to Guxian's Ferrari. At that time, even if he did not knock the Ferrari off the cliff, he could break the brakes of the Ferrari. At this moment, the corner without any surveillance cameras appeared. Brother Guang's lips curled into a sinister smile. He slammed on the accelerator when Guxian's Ferrari began to slow down. There was a sea of people in the spectator stands. Everyone was watching this exciting race, and they were all excited. Suddenly, the two sports cars on the screen turned into the corner of the hill and disappeared from the screen in the next 10 seconds. This was a stage deliberately set up by the organizers to make everyone feel the tense atmosphere of the race. The purpose was to let everyone guess which car would be in the lead after 10 seconds. Therefore, the organizers did not set up surveillance cameras at this corner. Before the Audi sports car disappeared, Yunjian had a nagging feeling that something was off. At the same time, Yunjian felt her eyelids twitch wildly. But she did not think too much about it. 10 seconds later, the Audi sports car rushed out of the corner and took the lead. The commentator, who was standing furthest away, changed his way of explaining. He used a surprised expression to describe what was happening in front of him. Hey, our Audi sports car is actually ahead of the Ferrari sports car. Our Ferrari sports car. After a while, the Ferrari sports car still hadn't rushed out. The commentator wanted to say, our Ferrari sports car actually fell behind at the end and was overtaken by the Audi sports car. But when the commentator said this, the Ferrari sports car still hadn't come out. What? What happened? Even the commentator felt a sense of lingering fear. Everyone was stunned by the commentator's words. However, everyone quickly reacted. If a sports car didn't appear after so long, and with the speed of a sports car, it was impossible for it to stop in an instant. It could only mean one thing: the sports car fell off the cliff. Or was there some other reason? However, at this moment, the red Ferrari sports car appeared on the screen again, but the difference was that this red Ferrari sports car was on the verge of collapse. It looked like, oh my god, the brakes of the Ferrari sports car are malfunctioning. The commentator quickly realized that something was wrong, and he quickly exclaimed. However, the moment the commentator exclaimed, under everyone's gaze, a thin figure leaped from the viewing platform. The figure jumped directly over everyone's heads from the fourth high step of the viewing platform and onto the flat ground. Everyone present saw this scene. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. However, when everyone came to their senses, they saw Yun Jian running toward a sports car not far away. A wave of astonishment surged in the hearts of those present. Was she going to save the people in the Ferrari sports car whose brakes were out of control? How was this possible? Chapter 941. Incidents like this where the brakes failed during a race had happened before. Of course, there weren't many incidents where the brakes failed during a race. If such a thing really happened, then the racer was unlucky. Of course, there was another possibility that everyone was well aware of, but they wouldn't express it in words: man-made. Not only was racing a dangerous and exciting game, but there were also many shady dealings that everyone knew about. Of course, everyone knew about these shady dealings. Once it was discovered that the brakes had malfunctioned, the unlucky racer would usually end up dead or seriously injured. This was because something similar had happened at Yuanbao Mountain before, and it had been discovered no less than 5 times. Any racer whose brakes failed would either die or be seriously injured. 2 out of 5 would die, and even if they survived, they would be paralyzed. Therefore, when everyone saw Guxian's Ferrari lose control, their first thought was that Guxian was dead meat. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. But when everyone saw Yun Jian run towards the sports car parked not far away, a shocking thought came to everyone's mind. Could it be that the girl who suddenly ran over there wanted to drive the sports car to save the person in the Ferrari whose brakes had failed? This was simply impossible. Because the Ferrari had already lost control. It wouldn't stop unless it hit a certain mountain rock. However, if this Ferrari sports car were to crash into some mountain rock, then the person sitting in the Ferrari sports car would definitely be seriously injured, if not dead. However, just as everyone present was certain that Guxian, who was in the Ferrari, was dead for sure, Yun Jian ran in front of a Maybach sports car. The Maybach sports car was parked next to the racetrack, and a man in his 30s was standing next to it, wiping the Maybach sports car. Yun Jian walked over and sat directly in the Maybach sports car with its door open. She said to the car owner, "Lend me your car for a while." Then, Yun Jian stepped on the accelerator, and the Maybach sports car shot out like a bolt of lightning. Hey! The man in his 30s, who was the owner of the Maybach sports car, waved at Yun Jian, but the car had already been snatched away by Yun Jian. The car owner, who was standing in place, was dumbfounded. He swallowed in shock and sighed deeply. Are all girls so fierce nowadays? However, at this moment, from the spectator stands, one could see that Yun Jian had already driven the Maybach sports car in the opposite direction of Yuanbao Mountain. Guxian, Brother Guang, and the others were driving along the racetrack, but Yun Jian was driving in the opposite direction. Driving in the opposite direction of the track, Yun Jian could meet Guxian's Ferrari head-on. Yun Jian's Maybach's Maybach sports car. After that, the spectator stands were filled with the sound of people talking in fear. Heavens, what did that girl want to do? Is she going to save someone? That Ferrari sports car has already lost control. Even if she goes to save someone, she has no chance of winning. I feel like she's going to die. The spectators on the spectator stands watched nervously as Yunjian disappeared from everyone's sight. Not long after, she appeared on the large screen again. Chapter 942. Of course, everyone present didn't think that was possible. From the screen, it could be seen that the Ferrari sports car was already on a rampage, and it looked like it was about to collapse. Yun Jian was driving the Maybach sports car and was rushing in that direction. However, it was hard to say if Yun Jian's Maybach sports car would collide with Gu Xian's Ferrari sports car. Fortunately, it wasn't difficult for the people present to see that Gu Xian was driving the Ferrari sports car. Although the brakes had failed, the car was still moving forward. It couldn't stop or slow down. However, whether it was a cliff or a rock, he still turned the steering wheel with all his might. If Gu Xian turned the steering wheel too slowly and fell off the cliff, or hit a rock too quickly, he might die before Yunjian arrived. However, from the big screen, although the Ferrari sports car was out of control, it was still trying its best to turn the direction and didn't give up. In fact, Gu Xian, who was sitting in the Ferrari sports car, was already sweating. He felt the call of death. When he turned the corner just now and the car slowed down, Brother Guang directly stepped on the accelerator and rushed up. Brother Guang's rush directly knocked Gu Xian to the edge of the cliff. Just a little bit, and Gu Xian would have fallen off the cliff with the car. Fortunately, Gu Xian grabbed the steering wheel with all his might and didn't let the steering wheel go crooked. F***ck. Damn it. Gu Xian groaned hatefully. At this moment, he was walking on the edge of life and death and could die at any time. This wasn't the time to be angry, so Gu Xian put aside his hatred for Brother Guang and focused on holding the steering wheel tightly. He, Gu Xian, couldn't die here like a coward. Yun Jian was driving the Maybach sports car at an astonishing speed, turning one mountain road after another. The moment Yun Jian turned a corner, the people sitting on the viewing platform shouted in shock, "Amazing!" At this moment, this group of people was shocked by Yun Jian's lightning-like driving skills. Oh my god! Am I seeing things? That girl hadn't even stepped on the brakes since she started the car. This is too amazing. Too frightening. I'm sure this girl is an expert racer. I've never seen such amazing driving skills. The crowd roared and commented. At this moment, Yun Jian, who was driving a Maybach sports car, happened to meet Brother Guang, who was driving an Audi sports car to the finish line. Yun Jian's car came from the opposite direction of the finish line, so it bumped into Brother Guang's Audi. Yun Jian brushed past Brother Guang's Audi just like that. However, the moment she brushed past Brother Guang's Audi, a murderous look flashed across Yun Jian's eyes. Brother Guang was the first to arrive at the finish line without any obstacles. As soon as he got out of the car, he flashed a victorious smile at the camera. He had already sent the crew cut guy and the others to warn Gu Xian, but in the end, Gu Xian did not listen and insisted on getting ahead of him. If that's the case, then go to hell. Brother Guang turned his head to look at the large screen in front of him. He thought he would see the scene of the Ferrari sports car crashing into a cliff or hitting a mountain bike and dying. But what Brother Guang saw was this: Yun Jian's Maybach sports car had already collided with the Ferrari sports car. However, just when everyone present thought that Yun Jian was powerless, Yun Jian suddenly stepped on the brakes. Is she crazy? Does she want that Ferrari sports car to hit her and send her flying? She actually wants to use her own car to stop that Ferrari sports car? Someone exclaimed. Chapter 943. She's crazy. She's really crazy. If the Ferrari crashes into her car, both her car and her car will fall off the cliff, someone in the know said again. In spite of it, Yun Jian had already parked the Maybach sports car. On the big screen, Gu Xian's Ferrari was getting closer to the Maybach that was blocking his way. Yunjian, drive away. Drive away. You'll die. Drive away now. Guxian saw Yunjian's car parked in the middle of the road as well. When he saw that the person in the Maybach was Yunjian, he bellowed her full name. Guxian knew very well that if Yunjian parked her car in the middle of the road and waited for his Ferrari to crash into her, Yunjian would definitely be sent flying by the Ferrari he was driving now. Guxian did not want to die, but he did not want Yunjian to die for him either. Therefore, Guxian turned the steering wheel, planning to bypass Yunjian's Maybach and drive himself off the cliff. If he had to die, he would just let him die. It wasn't easy for him to recognize a younger sister. How could he let his younger sister die for him? Guxian was prepared to die. Taking a deep breath, he turned the steering wheel and closed his eyes. The Ferrari was about to fall off the cliff. Oh my God! The scene shocked the audience sitting on the viewing platform. The person in the Ferrari drove himself off the cliff to prevent the little girl from sacrificing herself to save him. The scene in front of them touched the hearts of all the audience members. Although they didn't know the relationship between the two people in the Ferrari sports car and the Maybach sports car, the scene just now was enough to shock everyone present. It was over. Everything was over. Die, go to hell. Brother Guang had already gotten out of the Audi sports car. He grinned menacingly as his eyes were glued to the big screen. He had never seen Yunjian's face, but he, Brother Guang, was never afraid of anyone in Longmen City. He was a high-ranking member of Falcon Hall. Although his status was not as high as Su Zetian and Duan Lei's. If it was someone with a higher status than him, he naturally couldn't afford to offend them. But someone like Guxian wanted to surpass him? TSK, dream on. While Brother Guang was thinking about this, Guxian had already driven towards the cliff. Everyone in the spectator stand sat up straight. But at this moment, on the big screen, the black Maybach sports car moved. Almost at the same time, the Maybach stepped on the accelerator and slammed into the Ferrari. TCH. The sports car brushed against the door of the sports car while the Maybach that Yunjian was driving brushed against the door of the Ferrari sports car. Sparks flew as both cars brushed past each other. But in the next second, Yunjian, who was sitting in the Maybach, turned the steering wheel. She pushed the Ferrari back from the edge of the cliff at a frightening speed. Everyone in the spectator stands widened their eyes. Watching as Yunjian pushed the Ferrari back into the lane, the Maybach stepped on the accelerator. Just as she was about to fall off the cliff, she stepped on the accelerator and stepped on it again. However, the Maybach did not stop moving forward after it stepped on the accelerator. The Maybach sports car caught up with the Ferrari sports car in reverse. Under everyone's gaze, the Maybach sports car crashed into the side of the Ferrari sports car. The two cars were close to each other as sparks flew. Finally, at a corner, a horrifying scene occurred. The Maybach made a sudden turn and pressed the Ferrari sports car against the cliff, causing it to crash into the cliff at a speed that did not hurt anyone. At the same time, the Maybach stepped on the accelerator and stopped abruptly. Everything was over. The people in the Ferrari sports car were rescued. Chapter 944. Yunjian had crashed the Ferrari sports car into the rock at a special angle, allowing Guxian to avoid being injured. After Yunjian forced the Ferrari sports car to stop with the Maybach, she braked and stopped the Maybach as well. Yunjian's first reaction after she got out of the car was to run to the Ferrari sports car and open the door for Guxian to climb out from the passenger seat. At this moment, the spectator stands were completely silent. Everyone who saw the scene was so shocked that they froze. Not a single person was not stunned. Beside Brother Guang stood the crew-cut guy and the rest who had tried to threaten Guxian earlier. They were dumbfounded when they saw the shocking scene on the big screen, especially Brother Guang. Especially for someone like Brother Guang, who had been in the underworld for so many years and had raced many times, he had never encountered such a situation. The sports car's brakes had malfunctioned and it could be rescued safely. Yunjian had used the Maybach sports car to forcefully stop the Ferrari sports car whose brakes had malfunctioned. As it turned out, the scene had shocked everyone present. Such a feat was unheard of even in the entire Zhe province and country Z, let alone Longmen City. How good must one's driving skills be to be able to pull it off? After all, the Maybach sports car had rescued the Ferrari sports car from the edge of the cliff. The Ferrari sports car had initially planned to fall off the cliff by itself, but what happened in the end? The Maybach sports car had managed to push the Ferrari sports car back from the edge of the cliff. More importantly, the people in the two sports cars were not hurt at all. As the surveillance cameras on the road were installed with reflectors and Yun Jian had walked to the Ferrari sports car with the camera on her back, the screen in front of the spectator stands could not see Yun Jian's face clearly. Yun Jian had already walked to the passenger seat of the Ferrari sports car. She opened the door and said to Gu Xian, "Come out." Gu Xian had yet to recover from the shock of almost falling off the cliff. He was panting desperately, looking like he had been given quite a fright. When Gu Xian recovered, he looked at Yun Jian. The moment he turned his head, he saw the front of the Ferrari sports car had crashed into the rock and was dented. The car was damaged. "Sister, I'm sorry. I damaged your car." Gu Xian lowered his head in self-reproach. "Isn't it just a scratch? The car can be repaired if it's damaged. Mine has been wrecked hundreds of times, it won't make a difference to you this time," Yun Jian said with a lazy smirk with her arms crossed. In her previous life, she drove this car whenever she went out on a mission. This Ferrari sports car had been scrapped hundreds of times, but it was always repaired by her until it was as good as new. Gu Xian's head snapped up when he heard what Yun Jian said, and he eventually got out of the Ferrari sports car under her gaze. The crowd in the spectator stands had all reached the finish line. Yun Jian drove Gu Xian back to the finish line in the Maybach sports car. Everyone in the spectator stands screamed as they watched Yun Jian drive back. Her astounding driving skills just now had made her the god of racing in their hearts. After Yun Jian and Gu Xian got out of the car, two of Gu Xian's buddies came over to help Gu Xian. Yun Jian, on the other hand, went straight to Brother Guang and the others who had fled. Brother Guang and the others were about to flee, but just as they were about to carry Yun Jian away, Yun Jian's voice came slowly, "Where do you think you're going?" Her voice was like a demon from hell. Although Brother Guang had never seen Yun Jian's face, he could not help but tremble violently with Yun Jian on his back. In spite of it, Brother Guang still said arrogantly as he turned around, "Ha, do you think you're..." Just as he said that, Brother Guang caught sight of Yun Jian's face. Once he saw Yun Jian's face, Brother Guang fell to his knees with a thud. His eyes widened in fear as he stuttered, "Sister Jian. Sister Jian?" Chapter 945. Brother Guang had never caught a glimpse of Yun Jian's face from start to end. From Yun Jian's appearance to snatching the Maybach sports car to save Gu Xian, she had never shown her face on camera. Naturally, the audience watching from the viewing platform did not get a clear look at Yun Jian's face as well. It was not until Yun Jian was completely exposed to the public and called out to Brother Guang and his gang who were about to flee that the audience finally got a clear look at her face. Of course, this was not a big deal. Most importantly, Bro Guang had just turned around aggressively with the attitude that he would not stop until he caused trouble for Yun Jian today, but the moment he turned around, Yun Jian's expression changed drastically. When he turned around, Brother Guang had actually knelt down in front of Yun Jian at an even faster speed. What was going on? Why was Brother Guang calling this girl Sister Jian? Sister Jian? Everyone knew that Brother Guang was a member of the mafia. Today, however, he had actually knelt down after getting a clear look at Yun Jian's face. While the audience was surprised, the crew cut guy and his gang were equally terrified. Brother Guang was a higher-up in Falcon Hall. He had never been afraid of anyone since he joined the racing scene. Why was he kneeling down like a weakling when he saw Yun Jian today? "Brother Guang, what game are you playing? I told you just now that this B*TCH said my hands were dirty. I didn't F*King kill her just now, I'll do it to her right now." The crew cut guy had a conflict with Yun Jian previously, so he held a strong opinion of Yun Jian. Seeing Brother Guang kneeling down in front of Yun Jian, the crew cut guy did not react at all. He even walked toward Yunjian as if he would lose face if he did not beat up Yunjian. Brother Guang had heard the crew cut guy complain about what happened between him and Yunjian before. If it had been just now, Brother Guang would have been furious when he heard what the crew cut guy said. What about now? Brother Guang was a senior executive of Falcon Hall. He had been in Falcon Hall for a few years and had naturally seen the current boss of Falcon Hall. Obviously, Brother Guang had only seen Yunjian from afar, so he didn't recognize Yunjian. When Brother Guang heard that the crew cut guy was going to mess with Yunjian, he was so scared that he grabbed the crew cut guy. Brother Guang stood up and punched the crew cut guy in front of everyone. This punch sent the crew cut guy to the ground. F***CK, shut your dirty mouth. If you dare badmouth Sister Jian in front of me again, I'll beat you to death. Brother Guang scolded the crew cut guy loudly. In fact, Brother Guang was thinking that he had actually challenged Sister Jian. The person who tried to kill Sister Jian with the car just now. When Brother Guang thought of this, his whole body trembled. Therefore, he thought that he could make up for it before things reached a point of no return. It would be best to push all the blame onto the crew cut guy. In spite of it, Yunjian was not someone who could not see the truth. Watching Yunjian walk toward him, Brother Guang was shaking all over. Sister Jian, it's this guy's fault. You're a magnanimous person, please don't. Brother Guang trailed off. Yunjian was already striding to Brother Guang and stomped on his chest right in front of everyone, sending him flying several meters away from his kneeling position. The people around them were terrified and bewildered. How dare this girl treat Brother Guang, who was a senior executive of Falcon Hall, like this? Was she not afraid of Falcon Hall's revenge? Just as they thought so, Yunjian's voice rang again. Do you think I'm an idiot? Let me tell you, the Ferrari sports car you just wrecked is my car. The person you want to kill is my brother. Chapter 946. My Falcon Hall? Everyone present latched onto these 4 words. If Yunjian had uttered these words right from the start, no one would have bothered with her. No one was even willing to pay close attention to what Yunjian said. In spite of it, the extent of Brother Guang's fear of Yunjian had forced everyone to pay attention to Yunjian's every word and action. In addition, everyone knew that Brother Guang was a high-ranking member of Falcon Hall. As a high-ranking member of Falcon Hall, it was impossible for Brother Guang to cower like this upon seeing Yunjian unless he had met someone with a higher status in Falcon Hall. He had even knelt before Yunjian just now. You're from Falcon Hall too? Hearing Yunjian say, my Falcon Hall, the crew cut man clambered up from the ground and went to Yunjian, staring at her in disbelief. It was also at this moment that Guxian looked at Yunjian with the same stunned gaze. Even when he was studying abroad, Guxian knew of Falcon Hall's existence. The current Falcon Hall was something that even the police could not do anything about. Moreover, rumors about Falcon Hall in the underworld had spread all over Longmen City. Guxian had heard about it once he returned to the country and was shocked as well. Judging by Brother Guang's reaction and Yunjian's tone, was Yunjian from Falcon Hall too? Of course, Guxian, including those present, would never compare Yunjian with Falcon Hall's boss, slaying Luo. After all, Yunjian looked too young and could hardly convince the crowd. Since you're from Falcon Hall, why haven't I seen you before? The crew-cut man's brows furrowed into a frown that looked as ugly as wrinkles. He questioned Yunjian at the same time. The crew-cut man was Brother Guang's lackey. Even someone of Brother Guang's status could only show half of his face among Falcon Hall's higher-ups. Even Brother Guang had only seen Falcon Hall's boss from afar. Moreover, Yunjian did not enter Falcon Hall's headquarters often. Su Zetian was usually in charge. Now that Su Zetian was heavily injured, Su Zetian's most trusted subordinate, Duan Lei, was in charge. Therefore, it was reasonable that the crew-cut man had never seen Yunjian. You didn't see me at Falcon Hall? Yunjian frowned slightly. Some of the men and boys in the room felt numb when they saw her ravishing beauty. Hearing Yunjian's words, Brother Guang, whose heart was tense, and the group of brothers who had just scolded Yunjian with the crew cut guy all shifted their gazes. Everyone's eyes shifted to Yunjian. Even Guxian and Guxian's two buddies were no exception. Yunjian stood in the same place. Her long black hair flowed elegantly, and her high ponytail made her look full of energy. That's right. The crew cut man was shocked by Yunjian's aura, but he reacted quickly and looked at her arrogantly. Get the hell out of my way. Damn it. Seeing the crew cut man's behavior, Brother Guang was terrified again. How dare he act arrogantly in front of Falcon Hall's boss? Brother Guang wanted to slap the crew cut man to death. At the same time, Yunjian's arrogant voice was heard again. You want to see me at Falcon Hall? Are you worthy? Raising her voice, Yunjian's arrogant words made everyone present feel respect for her. This young lady was so arrogant. Chapter 947. Are you even worthy? Yunjian's words made the crew cut guy's heart clench. Any man would be angry to be addressed in such a tone, especially a man like the crew cut guy who cared a lot about his reputation. Most importantly, Yunjian was still an underage girl at Yunjian's age, yet she stood in front of him and said that. You want to see me in Falcon Hall? Are you even worthy? The crew cut guy was completely enraged by Yunjian. He did not even care why Brother Guang was so afraid of Yunjian anymore. Are you King looking for death? I'm going to kill you today. I'm not human. The crew cut guy was instantly enraged. He ignored Brother Guang's attempts to stop him and insisted on walking towards Yunjian. The crew cut guy was his subordinate. Brother Guang knew that if the crew cut guy offended Yunjian today, he would not be far from death. Brother Guang's heart skipped a beat. He was almost scared to death by the crew cut guy's actions. However, just as the crew cut guy was about to approach Yunjian, Brother Guang's angry roar was heard. Zhuaping, you're crazy. She's the boss of Falcon Hall. Do you still want to live here? Zhuaping was the crew cut guy's name. Brother Guang called out the crew cut guy's full name. Brother Guang really had no other choice. That was why he had to say it out loud. If he did not say it out loud, Brother Guang was sure that the crew cut guy would definitely go against Yunjian given his personality. However, going against Yunjian and the boss of Falcon Hall? It was fine if the crew cut guy had to bear the consequences himself, but the problem was that he would be dragged down by the crew cut guy as well. The words Falcon Hall's boss caused an uproar in the crowd. Yunjian. Falcon Hall's boss? What kind of joke was this? The legendary Luo Sha who turned Falcon Hall into the #1 gang in Jia province in just over half a year? This little girl in front of them? Don't forget that not long ago, Falcon Hall's boss, Rakshasa, had also taken the #1 gang in Jia province, Leopard Pack, under her wing. Half a year ago, Falcon Hall, which was the original Dragon Head gang, was at the bottom of the Jia province's gang rankings. However, Falcon Hall's Rakshasa only spent half a year to turn Falcon Hall into the #1 gang in Jia province. When this news was first spread, it completely shocked everyone. But what did Brother Guang just say? The woman who led Falcon Hall to become the #1 gang in Jia province was actually this underage girl? How is this possible? What? How is this possible? Who is she? She's the boss of Falcon Hall? The crew cut guy's feet froze on the spot. He stared blankly at Yunjian, who was standing not far away. He was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped to the ground. This sudden attack made the crew cut guy's entire body tense up. He stared at Yunjian in front of him, not daring to take another step forward. The people around them heard Brother Guang's voice clearly, and all of them stared at Yunjian in shock. No wonder she was so good at driving. They did not expect her to be Falcon Hall's boss. How can it be fake? I saw it with my own eyes. Brother Guang closed his eyes, then collapsed to the ground as if paralyzed. Brother Guang knew that he would not be able to escape from Yunjian this time. He had almost pushed the brother of Falcon Hall's boss off the cliff. He had even damaged her Ferrari sports car. Brother Guang was sure that he was not far from death just based on these 2 points. Hearing Brother Guang, a senior member of Falcon Hall, say so, everyone present gasped. Looking at the little girl before them, she was really Falcon Hall's boss, Rakshasa. They did not expect Falcon Hall's boss, Rakshasa, to be so young. Chapter 948. While everyone was still in shock, Yun Jian had already walked up to Brother Guang and the gang. You guys know Falcon Hall's rules as well, Yun Jian said, her meaning clear. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Brother Guang knew that he was done for. Based on the way Yun Jian dealt with people back then, he knew that they were probably doomed this time. Back then, Flying Passage's boss had sent a sniper to injure Su Zetian severely, forcing him to the brink of death. After Yun Jian rescued Su Zetian by force, she went to Flying Passage alone without a word and annihilated the entire gang. With this incident alone, Brother Guang knew that he was doomed this time. Falcon Hall had made it clear that no one from Falcon Hall was allowed to use Falcon Hall's name to stir up trouble outside. However, Brother Guang had done this many times. He had even used Falcon Hall's name to coerce many beautiful girls and women. He had done such things many times. Back then, Brother Guang thought that it would be fine as long as he took it easy and did not get caught. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would be caught red-handed by his own gang's boss. I know. Brother Guang was trembling in fear, but he still spoke up fearfully under Yun Jian's pressure. Those who violate Falcon Hall's rules, those who treat Falcon Hall's rules as child's play, have their hands crippled and are expelled from the gang. Yun Jian's eyes flickered, looking like a born king. Her words and actions were like nightmares from hell. Brother Guang pounced to Yun Jian again and knelt down. Sister Jian. Sister Jian. Please give me another chance. No, please don't cripple my hands. I'll leave Falcon Hall, leave Falcon Hall. If his hands were crippled, he would really be a cripple. Brother Guang knew that his expulsion from Falcon Hall was inevitable. This is just one of the reasons. We haven't settled our personal score yet. Yun Jian evaded Brother Guang's kneeling without a trace, her icy expression showing no intention of going easy on him. Personal score? Brother Guang shuddered. Yun Jian's voice rang again with a chilling tone. You crashed into my brother's Ferrari on purpose just now, causing its brakes to malfunction, and he almost lost his life. Also, that scrapped Ferrari sports car is mine. How do you think we should settle this debt? Yun Jian's words made everyone's eyes widen in fear. What? The Ferrari's brakes did not malfunction, but someone else did it? While everyone was doubting the truth of the matter, Brother Guang knelt on the floor and kowtowed to Yun Jian. Sister Jian, I'm wrong. Please let me go, Sister Jian. I won't do it again. Brother Guang, a grown man, was actually kowtowing to Yun Jian. Who was Yun Jian? The boss of Zhe Province's top's boss? She was in the underworld. Even if Yun Jian killed Brother Guang, she would be safe and sound, let alone crippling him. With what he did just now, it would be strange if Yun Jian did not kill him. Let you go? Sure. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and crossed her arms in front of her chest, looking at Brother Guang in front of her. Once he heard Yun Jian say that she could let him go, Brother Guang looked up and gulped before his dark eyes stared at Yun Jian. Really? Before Brother Guang could finish, he was cut off by Yun Jian. Cripple your own hands and I'll let you go. Cripple my own hands? Why did this sentence come out of this underage girl's mouth so easily and freely? Everyone present was shocked. Bang! Yun Jian suddenly threw something at Brother Guang. When everyone saw what it was, they froze in shock. A butterfly knife. Chapter 949. Brother Guang watched as Yun Jian tossed a butterfly knife in front of him, his whole body trembling in fear. Jian. Brother Guang dared not cripple his own hand. He did not have the courage to do so, so he begged for mercy. Yunjian cut him short and hollered, "Do it." Brother Guang shuddered. Just as Brother Guang was shivering, Yunjian suddenly stepped on the butterfly knife on the ground and kicked it away. The butterfly knife bounced up from the ground due to the force of her foot. Yunjian flipped her hand and caught the butterfly knife that had bounced up from the ground. "Since you're not doing it, I'll help you." Yunjian smirked sinisterly and held the butterfly knife in a reverse grip, taking a step closer to Brother Guang. "Don't, no, I'm wrong." Brother Guang shifted from kneeling to sitting on the ground and shifted his buttocks backward. As he retreated, Brother Guang's body trembled even more. The moment Yunjian raised her hand, Brother Guang shut his eyes in fear. Huff huff. The night breeze was still blowing. The people around them dared not make a sound. Hence, the sound of the night breeze became louder. As the wind blew, Brother Guang did not feel the butterfly knife in Yunjian's hand falling toward him. When he opened his eyes, he saw Yunjian walking away. He sucked in a breath and saw Yunjian and Guxian walking away. Yunjian was still holding a phone in her hand and was telling Duanlei about the incident. Of course, Yunjian would not let Brother Guang go so easily, but she did not plan to do it herself because it was dirty. When Brother Guang relaxed, he heard Yunjian calling Duanlei from afar. When he heard himself mentioned, Brother Guang's ears perked up, but he only heard 3 words from Yunjian. "Torture him to death." Brother Guang fainted on the spot upon hearing Yunjian's words. At this time, Yunjian had already arrived in front of the owner of the Maybach sports car that she had just snatched. This Maybach sports car was used by Yunjian to rescue Guxian, and the car door was damaged in many places. Yunjian compensated the car owner with a lot of money. She also sent her Ferrari sports car to the original Ferrari company for repair. In her previous life, every time Yunjian damaged her car, she would bring it to a Ferrari sports car company to be repaired. Yunjian's Ferrari had to be repaired for a period of time, so in the meantime, Yunjian could only drive Ciyi's Lamborghini. Yunjian, on the other hand, did not mind. She could easily get Ciyi's Lamborghini if she wanted to. Yunjian contacted the original company of the Ferrari sports car and told them the address. Someone would come to pick it up. It could be considered a one-stop service. By the time Yunjian was done, it was already very late. Guxian felt sorry for Yunjian. She lent her Ferrari sports car to him, and he even damaged it. However, Guxian was relieved when he saw Yunjian's nonchalant look. "Sister, are you really the boss of Falcon Hall?" Guxian had been holding back for a long time, but he finally asked the question. "Yes." Yunjian did not hide it at all. "Does Dad know about this?" Guxian was silent for a moment before he asked. "No." Yunjian's answer was very straightforward. "Then it's better not to let Dad know about this. Besides, you're still in the military." Guxian paused for a moment before he continued, "Also, don't let anyone with ulterior motives know about this." Chapter 950. Guxian's concern warmed Yunjian's heart. Guxian and Yun-Yi had different feelings. Yun-Yi was the kind of person who would talk about her concern all the time, while Guxian was the kind of person who would never admit that he cared about you. However, Guxian was the kind of person who would never admit that he cared about you. Yet, the more he cared about you, the more he cared about you. Yunjian knew that Guxian was afraid that if her identity as the boss of Falcon Hall was exposed, it would affect her reputation in the military. After all, she was the boss of Falcon Hall. Even though Falcon Hall, which she managed, never allowed its members to bully the weak, others would still think that she was a gangster. This gave off a different feeling. However, Yunjian was not afraid that Gu Junjian would find out about her identity as the boss of Falcon Hall. After all, Gu Junjian already knew that she was the boss of the Kosha mercenaries, including the advanced special forces. Of course, this group of people kept their mouths shut. This made Yunjian feel relieved. Guxian's 2 buddies also followed Guxian home. Yunjian followed Guxian to Gu Yunjian's house first. Although it was already very late, when Yunjian and Gu Xian stepped into Gu Yunjian's house, they saw Qin Yiru running into the kitchen to bring out 4 bowls of mung bean soup for her, Gu Xian, and the 2 buddies of Gu Xian. You guys are finally back. I've kept this mung bean soup warm in the pot. It's still warm. Eat it while it's hot and go to bed early. You guys are still growing, so take care of your health. As Qin Yiru spoke, she made 2 trips to the kitchen to bring out the 4 bowls of mung bean soup and place them on the long table in the living room. Okay. Yunjian nodded. Thus, the 4 of them walked over to take the mung bean soup. When Gu Xian drank the mung bean soup, Yunjian saw an obvious teardrop drop from the corner of his eye, which then fell into the bowl. Gu Xian had never experienced maternal love. However, he never thought that he would experience it from Qin Yiru. Gu Xian's friends all told him that his stepmother was a venomous woman. She would definitely be two-faced in front of Gu Junjian. She would even pretend to treat him well in front of Gu Junjian. However, Qin Yiru gave him a different feeling. Gu Xian did not know why he was so certain that Qin Yiru treated him differently. Perhaps it was because Qin Yiru treated him the same way in front of Gu Junjian? The feeling that Qin Yiru gave people was that kind of mild kindness. Although this feeling was ordinary, it gave people a feeling of happiness and warmth. Thus, Gu Xian cried. However, he hid it very well. Other than Yunjian, no one else saw his tears. At this moment, Gu Xian made up his mind. He would use his heart to repay Qin Yiru. From now on, Qin Yiru was his mother, Yunjian was his sister, and Yun Yi was his brother. They were a family. After eating the mung bean soup and returning to Dong Ruan's house, Yunjian fell asleep immediately. Ce had not returned from an Hun group yet. Although the night without Ce was less warm, Yunjian could still sleep. The next day, after returning home from her morning exercise with Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Yi, Yunjian changed into a clean set of clothes and went to meet Ning Lanlan at the usual place. She did not forget that she had promised to go to the zoo. Yunjian saw Ning Lanlan standing there from afar. At this moment, there were a few young men and women standing beside Ning Lanlan. However, it was not hard to tell that these young men and women were Ning Lanlan's friends. Seeing Yunjian walk over, Ning Lanlan grabbed Yunjian's hand and ran to the side almost at the same time. Then, she whispered to Yunjian. Chapter 951. Ahem. Yunjian coughed softly when she heard Ning Lanlan's words. However, before Yunjian could say anything, another girl called out to Ning Lanlan. Lanlan, what are you whispering to this beautiful big sister behind my back? Just as she said that, a sweet-looking girl with big sparkling eyes walked over from the side. The girl put her arm around Ning Lanlan's shoulder and looked at Yunjian with a grin. Hi, I'm an Mo, Lanlan's good friend from school. That's my younger sister, Anua. She's a little shy, don't mind her. The girl started introducing herself excitedly with her arm around Ning Lanlan's shoulder. In the end, the girl who called herself an Mo even pointed at a young lady who looked exactly like an Mo. Yunjian looked over. Her gaze stopped on an Mo and paused for a moment before stopping at Anua, who looked a little shy not far away. Yunjian raised her brow. It was rare for her to be in the mood. She curled her lips and asked despite knowing the answer, twins? An Mo and Anua's looks could be said to be carved from the same mold. Ordinary people would not be able to tell them apart at all. However, Yunjian could tell an Mo and Anua apart with just a glance. Yunjian was also a top-notch investigator. She could even recognize Peter with his superb disguise back then. It was a piece of cake for her to tell the twins apart. The older sister, an Mo, was obviously more active. When she heard Yunjian, she put her arm around Ning Lanlan's shoulder and said to Yunjian, yeah, I'm the older sister and she's the younger sister. Hee, what's your name, big sis? And Mo's outspoken personality was rather straightforward. Yunjian said with pursed lips. Yunjian. And Mo repeated Yunjian's words. Then, she looked delighted. Your name is so nice. and Mo stuck her tongue out playfully as she spoke. Is everyone here? Let's get ready to go. At this moment, a gentle-looking boy wearing a pair of rectangular glasses walked over from the side. The boy's looks were not bad, and his skin was moderate. All right, big ice cube, we got it. And Mo stuck out her tongue and teased the boy. After Mo was done complaining, she turned around and introduced him to Yunjian. His name is Hani-chen. He's the class monitor of our class. Don't be fooled by his gentle and elegant appearance. He's famous for having no sense of direction in our class. Last time, he even got lost in the park. I really admire him. And Mo grumbled. Yunjian responded with a smile. Ning Lanlan's friends were all her classmates. Ning Lanlan said that she and her good friends often gathered together to go on spring excursions to all kinds of places. When Ning Lanlan borrowed salt from Qin Yiru at the Nilong River barbecue, she had gone with an Mo and the others. At this moment, an Mo and the others welcomed Yunjian. Moreover, when they found out that Ning Lanlan and Yunjian got to know each other because of that one time they borrowed salt, an Mo and the others were dumbfounded. An Mo even exaggerated that she would go to the Nilong River barbecue next time to borrow salt to bring a good friend back. Naturally, an Mo was only joking. Just as everyone was about to leave, a shout came, Lan Lan. Hearing that the voice was calling Ning Lan turned around. However, when she turned around and saw the person before her, Ning Lan lowered her head shyly and said, Senior Jiming. Chapter 952. Yunjian did not like being stared at like that. She frowned and walked away discreetly. Shan Zihao had not seen Yunjian for a while since the foreign language competition at Foreign Languages High School. Now that he saw her, he was overjoyed. Lan Lan. Xiao Jiming merely smiled at Ning Lan. Hi, Yunjian. Long time no see. Seeing Yunjian walk away discreetly, Shan Zihao's heart was itching. Hence, he walked over to greet Yunjian. He was getting more and more interested in Yunjian. He had been attracted to Yunjian ever since he saw her in school the last time. There was no girl who would not be attracted to his handsome face. This was the reason why Shan Zihao was so interested in Yunjian. Also, Yunjian gave him the feeling that she was too mysterious. When he was talking to Peter, the words that seemed to be unintelligible were attracting his attention. Shan Zihao was sure that he had never paid so much attention to a girl before. Hence, when he saw Yunjian walking away, he rushed up to greet her. Oh yeah, why are you guys here? Ning Lan lifted her head slightly and glanced at Xiao Jiming. She put away her shy gaze and asked. Zihao dragged me here. He said we're going out to have fun. I didn't expect to see you guys here. Xiao Jiming reached out to touch his head. He seemed to be confused about the situation. Although Ning Lan liked Xiao Jiming a lot, she could not bring herself to like Shan Zihao. Especially when Shan Zihao seemed to be sizing up Yunjian, Ning Lan disliked him even more. Ever since Ning Lan saw Ce the last time, she felt that Ce and Yunjian were a perfect match. That feeling of wanting to bring the two of them together had completely sprouted. Perhaps Ning Lan was different from other girls. If other girls saw Ce, they would probably fight to get into Ce's good books. However, Ning Lan was different. Her heart was completely devoted to her senior Jiming. No matter how outstanding other men were, she did not want them. However, when she saw Ce and Yunjian standing together that night, she felt that they were a perfect match. That was why Ning Lan wanted to matchmake them. Because at first glance, Yunjian was the kind of person who didn't get aroused easily. How did you know we were here? Ning Lan shifted her attention to Shan Zihao. She did not hold back when she said those words. It was especially so when Shan Zihao's gaze shifted to Yunjian. However, Ning Lan stood in front of Yunjian, preventing Shan Zihao from looking at her. Although Ning Lan liked Xiao Jiming, she didn't like seeing Shan Zihao. Aren't we just passing by? Hee hee. As he spoke, Shan Zihao unconsciously shifted his gaze to Yunjian. Of course, it was impossible that they were just passing by. He knew someone in Ning Lanlan's group. That person was neither Hani Chen nor the twins in Mo and Anua. I said so. So what? Didn't you guys say we can't call anyone? At this moment, a very arrogant girl with her head held high and a little makeup on her face said in an annoyed tone. As she spoke, the girl even snorted. Ning Lanlan, you're the only one allowed to call your friends over? Can't I bring my own friends? The friend that the girl was referring to was probably Shan Zihao. The people who came today were all Ning Lanlan's classmates. There were about a dozen of them. Judging by the girl's tone, she must not be on good terms with Ning Lanlan. Chapter 953. As a matter of fact, the girl named Wuxia was very arrogant in class. Judging by her appearance alone, Wuxia had a lot of makeup on her face. It was obvious that she was a hooligan. That was the truth. Wuxia was a hooligan. Otherwise, how could she know Shan Zihao from the high school when she was just a junior high student? Alright, let's stop talking. I think we should hurry to the zoo. I heard that the entrance fee for the zoo isn't cheap. Once we go in, we must play from morning to night and come out when it's closed. That's not a loss at all. And Mo stepped up to speak up when she saw that the situation had taken a turn for the worse. And Mo was not acquainted with the girl named Wuxia. Each trip was organized by their class monitor, Hani Chen. Of course, most of the students who came out to play were those who were closer to Ning Lanlan and Mo. Initially, Wuxia was not going to come along, but for some reason, she suddenly told their class monitor that she wanted to come along. Hani Chen could not possibly reject her. He was the class monitor and he was the one who organized the students to go out on their own during the weekend. If he rejected Wuxia alone, would it not be too obvious that he was being ostracized? Therefore, no matter how much everyone disliked Wuxia, they could only think of ignoring her when they came out to play. Therefore, from the very beginning, Wuxia was alone and had no friends. Ning Lanlan wanted to scold Wuxia back, but since an Mo had spoken, she had no choice but to swallow her anger. Jianjian, let's go. Ignore some shameless people, humph. Ning Lanlan scoffed softly and pulled Yunjian away. Xiao Jiming, who was standing on the spot, looked at Ning Lanlan's angry face and smiled faintly. He had always treated Ning Lanlan as his younger sister, so he usually took care of her. The meeting spot was not far from the zoo, so Yunjian and her friends arrived in no time. There was still some distance to the zoo's entrance. Yunjian and her friends were still moving forward. Ning Lanlan was holding Yunjian's hand and pouting her cheeks. She looked like she was really angry about what had happened earlier. The zoo was located in the suburbs, near the mountains. Just as they passed by the foot of the mountain, Yunjian heard a very soft conversation nearby. What the F***CK, the ticket to that D**MN zoo is so expensive, I'm not buying a ticket to go in. Isn't this cheating us of our money? Exactly. I heard that if we follow this mountain path, we can enter the zoo from the back of the mountain. Let's go from here. There's such a thing? Hurry up. Up to this point, it was all male voices. Yunjian frowned slightly. Then, a weak female voice said, "Don't be like this. It's wrong to cheat. Get lost. Get lost. What do you know? If you want to leave, then come with us. If you don't want to leave, then go buy your own ticket." Humph, you have too much money and nowhere to spend it. We don't have as much money as you do, ha. A furious male voice rang, accompanied by the sound of shoving. However, after a while, a girl ran out crying. This girl had 2 ponytails and looked like a pear blossom in the rain. She looked delicate and weak. Chapter 954. The girl ran very fast with her eyes closed. When she bumped into Ning Lanlan did not feel any pain. The girl's body was soft like a ball of soft cotton. The girl only reacted when she bumped into Ning Lanlan. She lifted her head to look at Ning Lanlan and rubbed her eyes. She said in fear, "I am sorry." Ning Lanlan was a warm-hearted person. When she saw the girl's tear-stained face, she replied generously, "Don't worry, I'm sorry. It's fine. It's just a little impact. I can still take it." As she spoke, Ning Lanlan was curious why the girl was crying like that. As a girl, Ning Lanlan looked at her worriedly. She pursed her lips and asked after a while, "What's wrong? Do you need me to help you?" "I'm fine. Thank you." The girl wiped her tears. Then, she sobbed for a while and stopped. The girl took 2 shaky steps towards the zoo. Her thin and frail body looked like she was about to fall. Even Ning Lanlan felt sorry for her. She paused for a while. In the end, she could not help but ask, "Hey, are you going to the zoo too?" In truth, Ning Lanlan and the rest had heard the conversation before the girl rushed out from the side. Based on the girl's conversation with the other boys, they could guess what had happened to the girl. Although they had no idea what the girl's relationship with the boys was, they could guess based on the conversation earlier. The boys probably did not want to buy tickets to the zoo and wanted to play in the zoo. The girl felt that it was inappropriate, so she said it out loud. Everyone was well aware of the voices of the boys insulting the girls just now. Faced with Ning Lanlan's friendliness, the girl nodded in the end. Ning Lanlan was quite kind. Seeing that the girl was easy to get along with, she asked tentatively, "We're going to the zoo too. Do you want to come with us?" As she spoke, Ning Lanlan turned to glance at Yunjian and winked at Yunjian. "Me?" The girl was surprised that Ning Lanlan would invite her. However, she reacted quickly. She pointed at herself carefully and asked, "Can I?" "Sure," Ning Lanlan said with a smile. "Thank you." The girl's mood improved slightly. Yunjian stood aside and listened to the girl introduce herself to Ning Lanlan. Ning Lanlan introduced herself and Yunjian as well. "Hello, you're so beautiful." The girl looked at Yunjian and added a sentence from the bottom of her heart. Thank you." Yunjian wiped her red lips and replied generously. Wan Xiao, who was standing at the side, reached out to grab the corner of her clothes. Her expression was ferocious. Especially when she saw Shan Zihao looking at Yunjian with infatuation all the way, she was even more furious. One had to admit that Ning Lanlan was good at making friends. Soon, the girl became familiar with Ning Lanlan. The girl's name was Tang Chi Xian, and she was in a relationship with the boy who had just yelled at her to get lost. However, as time passed, Tang Qishuan found that she had more and more disputes with her boyfriend. Chapter 955. Alright, we can buy tickets and go in now. We've been dawdling here for so long, let's talk about it after we're in the zoo. A ticket costs 35 yuan. Let's fight to stay in the zoo for as long as we can, heh. An MO stood up and said with a grin. The group stopped hesitating when they heard what an MO said. The price of a ticket to the zoo in 1999 was still considered reasonable. The standard of consumption back then was generally low. A 35 yuan ticket to the zoo was considered expensive in the low-income era of 1999. 35 yuan could be compared to 200 to 300 yuan now. That was why the boys just now wanted to enter the zoo from the back of the mountain. Phew, we're finally in. Ning Lanlan said with a chuckle after they paid for their tickets and entered the zoo. What animal are we going to see next? An MO interjected at this moment. Ask Jianjian. Jianjian, what animal do you want to see first? Ning Lanlan blinked and turned to look at Yunjian, asking Yunjian. Pandas, Yunjian answered with a press of lips. Pandas? Ha, great, I like it. Ning Lanlan said, clapping her hands happily. Then, she said excitedly, Pandas are our country's first-class protected animals and I've seen them in pictures before. They're super cute. Ning Lanlan put her hands down and put on a yearning expression. In fact, Ning Lanlan liked pandas very much too. Let's go. Yun Jian grinned. About half an hour later, Yun Jian and her friends went around the zoo. Ning Lanlan and the others went to look for the toilet after taking a stroll. When Ning Lanlan and her friends went to the washroom, only Yun Jian and a handful of her classmates were left standing. Yun Jian waited a distance away from the washroom. Yun Jian, why are you ignoring me? Shan Zihao came over just as Yun Jian was leaning against a willow tree with her arms crossed. Shan Zihao's question sounded like he was denouncing her. Yun Jian's long legs moved slightly. She leaned lazily against the tree and didn't even raise her head. She even closed her eyes. Yun Jian sneered lazily, why should I care about you? These plain words touched Shan Zihao's heart. Once or twice, Shan Zihao thought that Yun Jian was playing hard to get with him. But he, Shan Zihao, had never failed to get a girl. Shan Zihao saw that Yun Jian was leaning against the willow tree lazily with her eyes closed when everyone else went to the washroom. Her rosy lips looked especially beautiful under the morning sun. Shan Zihao took a deep breath. Yun Jian, I like you. As Shan Zihao spoke, he strode towards Yun Jian and reached out his hand, wanting to kiss Yun Jian forcefully. Shan Zihao felt that many girls wouldn't be able to stand his posture. Especially those girls who had been kissed by him. Which one of them wasn't infatuated with him? He, Shan Zihao, didn't believe it. However, before Shan Zihao's hand could touch Yun Jian seemed to be conscious with her eyes closed. She turned around and dodged Shan Zihao's lecherous hand. Shan Zihao didn't expect Yun Jian to be able to dodge so easily with her eyes closed. By the time he reacted, he had already exerted his entire body's weight and crashed into the willow tree. With a loud bang, Shan Zihao's entire body crashed into the willow tree. He was still shocked that Yun Jian could dodge so quickly. Chapter 956. A normal girl would not say something so gory, but Yun Jian was never joking when she said it. Slamming into the willow tree, Shan Zihao sucked in a breath when he heard Yun Jian's words. Don't joke like that. I know you won't. Even so, Shan Zihao only treated what Yun Jian said as a joke. Who did not know how to spout nonsense? It was rare for girls to spit it out. Boys would often boast about how good they were to flaunt their abilities. Shan Zihao only saw Yun Jian as a girl who was competitive. Just as Shan Zihao turned around with his words, however, he saw a butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand. Yun Jian's grip on the butterfly knife coupled with her cold expression. Shan Zihao tensed up from the threat. Yun Jian, this knife is a replica, isn't it? Where did this knife come from? Huh, it looks like a real knife. This toy looks like a real one, I can't even tell if it's real or fake. Shan Zihao was still naive enough to think that Yun Jian's knife was a toy knife. Yun Jian scoffed. At that moment, Ning Lanlan and the others came out of the toilet. Jian, have you been waiting long? Heh heh. Ning Lanlan came out with Tang Qishuan and an mo. Yun Jian pressed her lips together and put the butterfly knife back into her pocket without a word. It was then that a person dressed as a cleaning lady ran over from afar, shouting as she ran, "Something's wrong. Something's wrong." A few guys came in from the back of the mountain. Io, they came in from the back of the mountain and it's Tiger's Nest. Go save them. Someone's going to die. The cleaning lady was not saying this to the passers-by but to the zoo staff. Her intention was for the staff to run to save the people. They came in from the back of the mountain and they happened to fall into Tiger's Nest. Yun Jian furrowed her brows. There were all kinds of animals in the zoo. No matter whether they were dangerous or not, they could be seen in the zoo. In this zoo, the tiger was released in a tall and large enclosure. In the middle of the enclosure was a huge open-air pit where the tiger rested. At least the zoo here didn't keep tiger in an iron cage. But as long as they didn't fall into this pit, these tiger wouldn't be able to jump out of this huge pit. But after hearing what the cleaning lady said just now, at this moment, Tang Qishuan's heart-wrenching scream rang out. They fell into the tiger's nest? Tang Qishuan's face instantly turned pale. After Tang Qixuan finished speaking, she ran towards the tiger crater as if she had gone mad. Let's go take a look as well. Ning Lanlan's face turned pale in an instant, but she still suggested. As she spoke, Ning Lanlan led a group of people towards where Tang Qishuan was running. Inside the huge tiger crater, this bunch of tigers who had been caged in the zoo all day had yet to lose their wild nature. These young men who came in from the back of the mountain had no idea that this was the tiger's nest. They only realized it after they came in. However, when a tiger charged over, it was already too late to stop it. Miserable shrieks rang out. One or two of the unlucky young men who were targeted by the tiger were torn to shreds on the spot. When Yun Jian and the rest arrived, there were already many workers who were trying to save them. However, when they looked down into the huge crater of the tiger's nest from above, they could see that there were already people who had been torn to shreds by the tiger. When Tang Qishuan saw that her boyfriend was about to be attacked by a tiger, she shrieked and wanted to jump into the huge crater. Yun Jian reached out and grabbed her. I'll go, Yun Jian's eyes flickered. Then, without any hesitation, she jumped into the huge crater. Oh my God, is this little girl looking for death? That's the tiger's nest. Someone trembled as he watched this scene from afar. Chapter 957. With a leap, Yun Jian leaped into the giant pit and landed steadily. The scene shocked everyone present and made Tang Qishuan's heart clench. No. Come back. This has nothing to do with you. Tang Qishuan was terrified, but when she saw Yun Jian jumping into the tiger's nest for her, she shuddered but still wanted to jump in to save Yun Jian. Tang Qishuan was scared, but she knew that this was her own business. She could not bear to leave her boyfriend, but Yun Jian had jumped in to save her. She could not harm Yun Jian. The giant pit was the tiger's nest where there were at least 8 to 9 adult tigers. Tang Qishuan was a very timid girl, but she did not want others to sacrifice themselves for her. However, just as Tang Qishuan was about to jump into the tiger's den, Ning Lanlan grabbed her from the side. Don't go either. You'll die if you go. I'll go save Jian Jian. Ning Lanlan frowned. She was actually shaking and her palms were sweating from fear. In spite of it, how could Ning Lanlan be willing to watch Yun Jian die? Although she had not known Yun Jian for long and they were not childhood friends, Ning Lanlan was the kind of person who would go through hell and high water for her once she acknowledged a friend. No, Sister Lanlan, this has nothing to do with you. I'll go myself. As she spoke, Tang Qishuan pushed Ning Lanlan away forcefully. It was then that Xiao Jiming stopped both Tang Qishuan and Ning Lanlan. Stay here, both of you. Zihao and I will go save her. Xiao Jiming then turned to call for Shan Zihao. Xiao Jiming was different from other guys. Not only was he handsome, he did not like to show off like other guys. Xiao Jiming was a real guy. At this moment, Xiao Jiming was not trying to act cool in front of the girls. He just wanted to save someone. In spite of it, when Xiao Jiming turned to call for Shan Zihao to go with him, he clearly saw Shan Zihao shuffling a few steps back. Zihao, we. Xiao Jiming was stunned. He was about to call for his best friend to go down with him. Shan Zihao took 2 steps back in fear and interrupted Xiao Jiming. Jiming, down there, our tiger. Tiger, they eat people. Someone's already been eaten. Besides, shouldn't the zoo save people themselves? All of this was an excuse. Xiao Jiming's eyes darkened, but he did not turn back. Shan Zihao's behavior had disheartened him. Just as Xiao was about to jump down to save the girl, and Mo's terrified shriek was heard. Everyone's attention was diverted by Mo's shriek. When everyone turned their attention to her, they saw that Yun Jian was already entangled by a tiger. No, Jian Jian. Ning Lanlan cried out and dashed into the pit. 2 steps later, however, Ning Lanlan halted in shock. Everyone's eyes widened as they witnessed a horrifying scene when the giant tiger pounced on Yunjian. Yunjian took a step forward and swung the butterfly knife with both hands agilely. The moment the tiger leaped at her, she sidestepped it and swung the butterfly knife into the tiger's exposed abdomen at the same time. The stab was fast, accurate, and ruthless. If she had been a step slower, the person who would have been pounced on would have been Yunjian. The tiger that was stabbed in the heart spilled blood on the spot and even spurted onto Yunjian. Yunjian merely blinked. She did not feel like she had killed a tiger at all. In spite of it, Ning Lanlan, Shan Zihao, and the others who were standing on top of the pit broke out in cold sweat. Chapter 958. Right before the tiger pounced on Yunjian, a lot of tourists around them cried out, "Hey! Oh my, this girl is done for. She's courting death. Who can she blame? It's good that she's dead. Serves her right for courting death." However, when Yunjian killed the tiger with a flip of her hand, the tourists' voices fell silent. Ning Lanlan was stupefied. Shan Zihao was stunned. Wan Xiao, who was very unfriendly towards Yunjian just now, was stunned. Han Yichen, Tang Qishuan, Xiao Jiming, and the others were also completely dumbfounded. The moment the blood splattered, everyone present saw Yunjian's lips curl up into a smile. That smile was like the Grim Reaper from hell. It was as if she was the king of the jungle, a god who ruled over the animals. At that moment, everyone present could not believe their eyes. After all, Yunjian looked delicate and pretty. At first glance, she looked like a normal middle school girl. However, no one expected Yunjian to jump into Tiger's lair and claim that she was going to save him. She was able to stab a tiger to death with a single stab. How fast did one's hand speed have to be able to do this? Everyone at the scene was scared witless. However, the person who was the most frightened was still Shan Zihao. After all, what did Yunjian say to him in the beginning? If he dared to pester her again, she would turn him into a woman. No normal girl would say something like that. Hence, Shan Zihao did not take Yunjian's words seriously at all. Most importantly, Yunjian had waved the butterfly knife in front of him before. However, Shan Zihao did not take it seriously at that time. Shan Zihao even thought that the butterfly knife Yunjian was playing with was just a toy knife. But now? Yunjian had used this very butterfly knife to stab Tiger in the heart. Yunjian had stabbed Tiger to death. If this saber was fake, how could it have such a sharp blade? When Shan Zihao thought about it, he felt his whole body trembling. She. Wan Xiao, who had scoffed at Yunjian earlier, saw Yunjian's actions and said, "She," 3 times in a row. Wan Xiao was so scared that he started to tremble. Even his bones started to tremble. However, at this moment, Yunjian had already run to the other side with the butterfly knife. "Little girl, it's dangerous. Go back." A worker in the huge pit saw Yunjian running in that direction and shouted in alarm. This staff member had just cooperated with his companions in an attempt to capture Tiger, who was attacking people. He saw Yunjian running towards him. Because the worker standing under the giant pit didn't see Yunjian killing Tiger with a single slash, he simply thought that Yunjian was an eyesore, so he didn't hold back when he shouted. However, the moment this group of workers frowned and saw Yunjian from the corner of their eyes, they saw a figure flash past. A few workers were facing the Tiger. They were holding stun batons that were specially used to capture tigers and were eyeing the tiger covetously. The tiger had already bitten a few people who had just climbed in from the back of the mountain. It was obvious that one of them did not have long to live. Because his intestines were hanging out from the bite, he looked bloody and lifeless. The workers did not dare to make a move for a long time. After all, the few in front of them were tiger. However, when they came back to their senses, they saw Yunjian rushing towards the tiger with the butterfly knife. Chapter 959. If something happened to the passengers here, the staff would be responsible. Moreover, these young men who climbed over the wall from the back of the mountain were already in trouble. If they didn't rescue them and send them to the hospital, it might not be just one person who would die. Therefore, Yun Jian's appearance made these staff members afraid that something would happen to her. More importantly, they felt that Yun Jian would cause trouble. Just now, when Yun Jian killed the tiger, the people on the viewing platform clearly saw it. However, the staff members standing in the huge pit were like frogs at the bottom of a well. They couldn't see the scene of Yun Jian killing the tiger at all. After all, this huge pit covered a large area. There were some large rocks around it. It wasn't easy to see Yun Jian's position from there. This little girl, is she here to cause trouble? One of the staff members frowned. Then, he held the stun baton and chased after Yun Jian. At this moment, Yun Jian was facing 6 or 7 tiger. These tigers seemed to be in a group. When the young men climbed over the mountain from the back of the mountain, these tiger rushed at them together. When the staff members found out about the tiger biting people and came down, the tiger had already bitten off most of the young men. Of course, the most serious one was the young man whose intestines were hanging out from his mouth. Because they were facing tiger, even if a few staff members came down to save people, they would definitely save people while protecting their own lives. Therefore, even if these tiger bit people to death on the spot, if they were to be put in danger, these staff members wouldn't rush up without thinking. Because these young men broke into this place by themselves, and they weren't relatives or friends, if these staff members couldn't even guarantee their own safety, how could they risk their lives for someone who had nothing to do with them? As for the staff member who saw Yun Jian running over there, although he said that Yun Jian was here to cause trouble and ran towards Yun Jian with the stun baton, although he was scolding Yun Jian for running over there, in fact, he was doing it for Yun Jian's sake. If this staff member was really just scolding Yun Jian for being a hindrance, he wouldn't have chased after Yun Jian to help her when she was facing 6 or 7 tiger alone. Just as the employee took 2 steps toward her, however, Yun Jian stopped abruptly. Seeing this, the tiger rushed towards Yun Jian as fast as they could. Not only did Yun Jian stop, but she also folded the butterfly knife easily under everyone's gaze and stuffed it back into her pocket. Was she going to fight the 7 to 8 tiger empty-handed? These were real tiger beasts. Everyone present shuddered in shock from Yun Jian's action. Oh my god, is she going to fight the tiger empty-handed? Does she think she's Wusong? This young lady is crazy. She must be seriously ill. Some of the tourists standing on top of the huge pit had never seen such a strange thing, so they all shouted out in surprise. When encountering such a bizarre situation, as long as it wasn't targeted at them, most people would love to join in the fun and watch the drama unfold. Jian Jian. Ning Lanlan was drenched in cold sweat as she clenched her fists tightly. Just as the tiger pounced on Yun Jian like they were going to tear Yun Jian into pieces, Ning Lanlan's expression changed. Chapter 960. Yun Jian had once ventured into the Amazon forest alone, where venomous snakes and ferocious beasts lurked. She had once single-handedly slaughtered a pack of wild wolves. Why was Yun Jian codenamed Slaying God? Slaying was her blood and she wanted to become a god. She was someone who had stepped on countless lives and survived by licking the blood from the tip of a blade. She had once fought alone and killed countless high-level secret agents and assassins. Although the 7 to 8 ferocious tigers in front of her looked terrifying, if she, Slaying God, trembled in fear at the sight of these beasts, how could she call herself Slaying God? Slaying God was not afraid of anything. Even if a bullet had pierced through her body, she had stubbornly survived. She was not afraid of the few ferocious tigers in front of her. Woo! The leading tiger was shocked by Yun Jian's murderous aura. It paused violently and howled. The tiger's brutality was not to be underestimated. It would never forgive an outsider who had mistakenly entered its territory. Even if this tiger had been reared in the zoo for a while, its wild nature could not be ignored. After a pause, the leading tiger howled again. Then, it seemed to be giving orders to the few tigers behind it. The few tigers understood the order and charged toward Yunjian together with the leading tiger. The real battle had just begun. Yunjian smirked. She wiped her red lips and revealed an eerie smile. In the next second, everyone saw Yunjian's silhouette flash. She charged toward the few tiger at lightning speed. Awoo! The tiger howled and ran toward Yunjian enthusiastically. Until Yunjian and the few tiger were right in front of them. Yunjian was running when she suddenly leaped and stomped on the head of the first tiger. Seeing this, the other tiger turned around and tried to save the tiger whose head had been stepped on by Yunjian. The tiger whose head had been stepped on by Yunjian struggled with all its might. It even lifted its head and tried to bite Yunjian's anklet. However, the moment the tiger lifted its head, Yunjian did a flip and landed on the ground. She reached out and grabbed the tiger's hind leg. In the next second, she lifted the tiger up and flung it out as fast as she could. After more than half a year of training after her rebirth, Yunjian's physical fitness was now very outstanding. Although the tiger was a tiger, Yunjian flung it with a flip of her hand. Bang! After the first tiger was thrown out, it fell heavily to the ground. The tiger didn't react for a while. The few workers were completely dumbfounded. The worker who had scolded Yunjian earlier was smarter. He quickly ran over to the tiger and used the stun baton to knock it out. Yunjian used the same method to avoid the tiger's attack. At the same time, she grabbed the tiger's hind leg and flung the tiger out. The tiger was flung to the ground one by one. It took a long time for them to regain their senses. The workers were scared silly, but they reacted quickly and knocked the tiger unconscious with the stun baton one after another. The people standing on the huge pit were stunned. Especially Shan Ziheo's face. It couldn't be described as ugly. It was only when Yunjian had flung out the last tiger and the workers had knocked out the last tiger that she revealed a smile. At this moment, small beads of sweat had appeared on Yunjian's forehead. However, when the morning sun shone on the girl's body, it made her look exceptionally delicate and pretty. This was completely different from when she had stabbed the tiger to death. Chapter 961. When all the tigers were knocked out, the staff locked them up in metal cages before sending the rescued lads and the lad whose intestines were bitten to the hospital. The incident was not over yet, but even so, it had nothing to do with Yunjian anymore. Tang Qishuan had already followed them to the hospital in tears. Before she left, she asked for Yunjian's contact number, saying that she had to thank Yunjian no matter what. Yunjian did not mind. After sending Tang Qishuan and the others away, Yunjian met up with Ning Lanlan and the others. Jianjian, are you okay? Ning Lanlan was nearly scared to death by Yunjian. She rushed up to hold Yunjian's hand and checked it carefully, only letting go when she was sure that Yunjian was fine. Phew, I was scared to death just now. Ning Lanlan sighed in relief. Are you guys still going with her? She just killed Tiger. That's a living life. Wan Xiao complained at this time. Wan Xiao, shut up. My Jianjian is doing what's right. Ning Lanlan was pissed off when she heard Wan Xiao's voice, especially when she had to say something like that to Yunjian under such circumstances. You. Wan Xiao was gagged, but she spoke up indignantly. Before Wan Xiao could finish, however, Han Chen cut her off. Alright, that's enough. It's fine as long as she's fine. Let's keep going. Even when something like this happened, it did not dampen the group's mood to have fun. Han Chen was the class leader after all, so his words carried some charisma. At least, Wan Xiao kept her mouth shut when she heard him. Just as Yunjian was about to leave with the group, a man's voice came from behind. Young lady, hold on. Yunjian remembered the voice. It was the staff member who scolded her for being a troublemaker in the pit not too long ago, but was kind enough to rush up to save her with a stun baton. The good and bad of a person was not determined by their appearance but their heart. Those who spoke harshly were not necessarily bad. Just like this staff member who called out to Yunjian. His words were harsh, but compared to the other staff members, he was the only one who rushed up to help when he saw that Yunjian was in danger. Yunjian turned to look at him. Young lady, thank you for just now. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have been able to save them so quickly. The man scratched his head and smiled at Yunjian. Yunjian smiled and replied, You're welcome. Have fun today then. The man told Yunjian and the others with a grin. Yunjian nodded and continued to play with Ning Lanlan and the others after that. The zoo, Yun and Yun and Yun. They strolled from morning to afternoon, and finally, they sat down in a place to enjoy the cool air. I'm going to the washroom. Wan Xiao stood up with a somber expression. Before she left, she gave Shan Zihao a shove with an expression that said, I'll tell on you if you don't come. No one saw the small gesture but Yunjian did. Yunjian pressed her lips together but did not pay much attention to it. After a while, Shan Zihao got up and left using the excuse of going to the washroom as well. You guys stay here for a while. I have something to talk to Jianjian about. Suddenly remembering something, Ning Lanlan went over to pull Yunjian's hand and scooted into the forest beside them. She wanted to ask Yunjian about some of the personal things between girls. Hence, Ning Lanlan pulled Yunjian to a spot far away from the rest of the group. Jianjian, Ning Lanlan was about to speak. A faintly discernible moan could be heard. Yunjian's gaze darkened while Ning Lanlan was startled. Nevertheless, her curiosity got the better of her. When Ning Lanlan pulled Yunjian over and saw the two people doing unspeakable things, her eyes nearly popped out of their sockets from the shock. Chapter 962. No one suspected anything when Wan Xiao and Shan Zihao left just now. After all, both of them were indeed walking in the direction of the toilet. However, they did not return even after a long time. However, because everyone had walked to many places and seen many animals in the morning and afternoon, their legs were extremely sore and numb. One could even say that their backs were aching. Hence, now that they finally sat down to rest, no one was willing to stand up and continue playing. Hence, it did not matter if it took a little longer. Everyone could afford to wait. However, Ning Lanlan and Yunjian did not expect Wan Xiao and Shan Zihao to be hiding in the woods and doing such a thing. There were many trees in the woods here. If there were people standing in the woods, they would not be able to see them from the roadside. Naturally, this made it convenient for Wan Xiao and Shan Zihao, a pair of thirsty man and woman. Wan Xiao and Shan Zihao were doing such unspeakable things with their backs facing Ning Lanlan and Yunjian. Wan Xiao was wearing a miniskirt today, so it was convenient for her. However, Ning Lanlan could never have imagined that she would witness such a hot scene when she only wanted to pull Yunjian out for a private conversation. It was no wonder she did not inform Shan Zihao. Shan Zihao knew that they were coming to the zoo today. Why would Wan Xiao, who had never participated in any of their activities, make an exception to join them today? Ning Lanlan nearly shrieked when she witnessed the scene, but Yunjian covered her mouth in the end. Leaning against a big tree, she could only hide herself with the help of the tree. Zihao, do you like that girl? Wan Xiao panted and asked Shan Zihao. Her? I'll get my hands on her sooner or later. Shan Zihao banged Wan Xiao with all his might. His eyes were bloodshot. Ever since he saw Yunjian, he realized that he was infatuated with Yunjian. He was so in love with her that he could not be saved. Especially when he saw Yunjian's nimble movements just now, his admiration for Yunjian deepened. Looking at Yunjian's beautiful body shuttling through the group of tiger, Shan Zihao had an impulse to immediately press her down. And just now, after Yunjian killed the first tiger, why did she put away her knife and fight with the tiger empty-handed? She even threw the tiger out so that the staff could knock it out and lock it in the iron cage? That was because it was impossible for Yunjian to kill all the tiger in this place. After all, this was a zoo. Killing in a zoo was illegal. More importantly, if there were no tiger in the zoo, would it still be called a zoo? From this point, Shan Zihao felt that Yun Jian was a very attentive girl. This was something that he greatly appreciated. Thinking about Yun Jian's beautiful body, Shan Zihao pounded Wan Xiao again and again. Wan Xiao liked him, and he was a normal man. Of course, he had a normal way of venting. However, even at this moment, he could not forget about Yun Jian. As Shan Zihao thought about it, he reached his hand into Wan Xiao's chest and grabbed it hard. He tossed and turned. Yun Jian and Ning Lanlan heard what they were doing from afar. Especially Ning Lanlan, she covered her mouth and left the little forest with Yun Jian in horror. "Hey, you guys are done whispering to each other and back so soon?" An Mo asked with a grin when she saw Yun Jian and Ning Lanlan coming out of the little forest so quickly. Yun Jian looked as if nothing had happened. Ning Lanlan, on the other hand, was clearly frightened. Chapter 963. Xiao Jiming went over to ask when he saw Ning Lanlan's odd expression. Senior Jiming, I'm fine." Ning Lanlan did not even look at Xiao Jiming this time as she dragged Yun Jian away in a daze. Ning Lanlan was not bothered by what happened just now. She was usually frivolous, but what happened just now was hard for her to accept. Shan Zihao usually acted like he had no other choice but to have Yun Jian. Ning Lanlan did not like Shan Zihao as a person, but it was not to the extent that she detested him. However, Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao's behavior just now had completely overturned Ning Lanlan's understanding, and she could not accept it all of a sudden. How could people be like this? Shan Zihao said that he liked Yun Jian, but with Wan Xiao. Most importantly, Shan Zihao was her senior Jiming's best friend. Ning Lanlan did not know how to tell her senior Jiming about this. Xiao Jiming's gaze dimmed when he saw Ning Lanlan pulling Yun Jian away. He was a gentle and refined person, but he was actually a more observant person. His mind spun and he immediately thought of why Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao were not back yet. In spite of it, Xiao Jiming did not think too much about it, since the people there were more normal teenagers. Ning Lanlan pulled Yun Jian to the side and told Yun Jian softly once they were there, Jian, if that Shan Zihao dares to pester you again, I'll definitely kill him for you." Ning Lanlan clenched her fists as she spoke, looking like she really wanted to kill Shan Zihao. Ning Lanlan had already recovered from her shock, but she was furious at Shan Zihao for having designs on Yun Jian. Yun Jian grinned, looking at Ning Lanlan's adorable face due to her anger. "The zoo is closing soon. Let's go." It was already past 4 in the evening. The zoo here closed at 4:30 p.m. But Wan Xiao and the others aren't back yet? An Mo asked in surprise. Then, an Mo puffed up her cheeks and said strangely, "It's so strange. It's almost 40 minutes. Why aren't they back yet? I think we should just ignore them and go on our own." "Humph." Ning Lanlan suddenly spoke up and took Yun Jian's hand to lead her to the entrance of the zoo. "I think so too. I can tell that Wan Xiao and that man aren't good people. Let's leave on our own." An Mo also grumbled, then called for everyone to leave first. Xiao Jiming wanted to stay for a while, but Ning Lanlan persuaded him to leave in the end. The few of them had just staggered to the entrance of the zoo when a panting male voice came from behind them. "Why did you leave on your own? I've been searching the garden for a long time." Shan Zihao had caught up. Wan Xiao was also there. At this moment, the redness on their faces had not subsided, but looking at their faces, it was as if nothing had happened. Shan Zihao came up to Yun Jian as he spoke and stared at Yun Jian's exquisite face that he yearned for day and night. Shan Zihao's heart itched. Recalling Wan Xiao's body just now, he invited Yun Jian, do you want to go karaoke tonight? Chapter 964. Ci's mellow, gentle, and slightly domineering voice came from the other end of the phone. Other than Ning Lanlan, everyone else present was stunned. "I'm at the zoo," Yun Jian replied with a faint smile with a press of her red lips. Ce and Yun Jian were both people of few words. It was only when the two of them were together that there was something to talk about. Looking at Yunjian's rare smile, Shan Zihao could not help being dumbfounded. In his impression, Yunjian only had one expression: aloof, indifferent, mysterious, and unfathomable. Just now, however, Shan Zihao suddenly realized that Yunjian was actually so happy that she smiled from the bottom of her heart. No matter which version of her it was, it gave Shan Zihao the urge to press her beneath him. However, who was this man talking to Yunjian on the phone? Was he as handsome as he was? Was he as tall as he was? Was he as popular among the girls in school as he was? There were only a handful of people as outstanding as him. Otherwise, why would Wan Xiao lie under him obediently just to beg for a little love from him? Shan Zihao felt like he was an emperor in ancient times where all women should fawn over him and beg for his favor. In spite of it, Yunjian's avoidance time and time again hurt his pride. Therefore, before Yunjian hung up the phone, Shan Zihao could not help questioning Yunjian. Yunjian, who is he? His tone sounded like he was someone to Yunjian. Even Yunjian could not help looking down, but Yunjian ignored him. On the other end of the phone, Ce heard Shan Zihao's voice. His thin lips that were pressed against the phone sank slightly. "Xiao Jian, come out," he said as he walked out of the zoo's entrance. Ce spoke. Just as Ce spoke, Shan Zihao questioned Yunjian again in a heavy tone as if he had caught the adultery between Yunjian and Ce. "Yunjian, tell me, who is he? Are you crazy? Don't act like you're close to Jianjian. You have nothing to do with her." When Ning Lanlan heard Shan Zihao's misleading tone and recalled what Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao had done earlier, she roared at Shan Zihao furiously. She then chuckled coldly at Shan Zihao. "Let me tell you, Jianjian is already taken. A scumbag like you doesn't deserve her." The word scumbag enraged Shan Zihao. Shan Zihao wanted to pull Yunjian as he said, "Yunjian, I really like you. Besides, does he treat you as well as I do? Is he as I am? Is he as sincere as I am?" Just as Shan Zihao was about to say something, a tall silhouette suddenly walked in from the zoo's entrance. Dressed in a black leather jacket, Ce was walking in from outside the zoo with a grim expression. The zoo's conductor wanted to ask for the entrance fee but was stunned by Ce's glare, so he did not go over to ask for it. Just as Ce entered, he saw Shan Zihao reaching out to grab Yunjian's hand. Shan Zihao wanted to grab Yunjian wholeheartedly but was stopped by a large hand. Ce stopped Shan Zihao's hand with one hand and looked down at Shan Zihao, who was half a head shorter than him. He gripped Shan Zihao's wrist, causing it to crack. "You want to touch my woman? Do you think you're worthy?" Chapter 965. The moment Ce appeared, his handsome face made everyone gasp. There was actually such a handsome man in this world. Ce's every move made all the women present gasp. Most of the women present merely glanced at him from afar and did not have any other thoughts. However, Shan Zihao could clearly see Ce's handsome face. He was so handsome and charming. Shan Zihao was probably not even a millionth of Ce's looks. Although Shan Zihao thought so in his heart, he would never admit it. Shan Zihao was being stepped on by Ce. Ce was stomping on Shan Zihao's abdomen, causing Shan Zihao great pain. Shan Zihao was not someone who could endure such pain. Shan Zihao struggled with all his might, but Ce treated him even more cruelly. Ce lifted Shan Zihao's hand just as he was about to grab his leg. Then, he bent down and grabbed Shan Zihao's collar, pulling him up from the ground. Shan Zihao was not as tall as Ce and had curled up into a ball after that kick. When Ce pulled him up, Shan Zihao was almost paralyzed. Compared to Ce, Shan Zihao was in an extremely sorry state. "Do you know the consequences of your actions?" Ce asked in a menacing tone, but the words that came out of his mouth were instinctively terrifying. "Let go of me. You took advantage of my weakness." "Huh, are you the man who was talking to Yunjian? Let me tell you, she is mine." Hee hee, sooner or later, I'll make her mine. Before he could finish his sentence, Ce grabbed Shan Ziheo's collar and flung him a few meters away. This throw almost made Shan Ziheo spit out a mouthful of blood. Yun Jian, who was standing at the side, was also slightly gloomy. What Shan Ziheo said just now was disgusting even to herself, let alone Ce. Don't drag me into this. We have nothing to do with each other, Yun Jian said coldly to Shan Ziheo. At this moment, due to the sudden appearance of Ce, no one noticed Emosen walking in from outside the zoo. Emosen stood outside the gate of the zoo and waited, but he didn't see Ce come out with Yun Jian. He stood there for a while and finally walked to the gate of the zoo. As soon as he entered the zoo, Emosen saw Ce's angry face and Shan Ziheo, who had been thrown a few meters away by Ce. When Emosen saw that his young master had made a move, he instinctively jumped over the gate of the zoo's ticket gate and rushed inside. Hey, hey. Hey, it's almost time to get off work, and you haven't bought a ticket, so you can't go in. Seeing this, the ticket inspector looked like he wanted to stop him. However, Emosen had already run over there. If you want to touch my people, you don't have to live in this world anymore. Ce didn't need to look to know that Emosen was walking over. He put his hands in his pockets and stared coldly at Shan Ziheo, who had been thrown to the ground by him. Everyone present was shocked by Ce's valiant actions. Even Shan Ziheo, who had been flung away, felt that something was wrong. Why did Ce's tone sound like he would really kill him? Chapter 966. What Emosen did the most these few days was to cripple people's genitals. Those who wanted to bully Chen Sini the last time were crippled by Emosen after he obeyed Yun Jian's orders. Emosen thought that he was pretty good at crippling people's genitals. Was Emosen, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, good at crippling people's genitals? Cough. Cough. When everyone heard Emosen calling Ce young master, they widened their eyes in shock. Young master? Was there such a title now? Just as everyone was thinking about it, Ce pressed his lips together and said, "Kill him." Kill him? Ce's words were neither heavy nor light, but there was a sense of seriousness to them that had never been felt before. It felt different from a joke. Once Shan Ziheo heard that Ce was going to kill him, he got up from the ground no matter how much pain he was in from the toss. He held his chest and shouted at Ce. How dare you? If you dare to kill me, my dad will arrest you immediately. My dad is the chief of Longmen City's police station. Shan Ziheo said fiercely with a hand on his chest. To be honest, Shan Ziheo was indeed frightened by Ce's words. Shan Ziheo looked like he was really afraid that Ce would kill him. Once they heard that Shan Ziheo's father was the chief of Longmen City's police station, they were not surprised. Shan Ziheo dared to be so insolent because his father was the chief of police. It was no longer a secret to Ning Lanlan and the others. As for how Ning Lanlan knew about it, she used to look for Xiao Jiming often and Shan Ziheo would often tell her about it. Shan Ziheo had even thought about hitting on Ning Lanlan back then, but he dared not do it because Ning Lanlan had Xiao Jiming's protection. After that, Ning Lanlan found it odd that Shan Ziheo did not do anything to her anymore. It was only today that Ning Lanlan found out that Shan Ziheo had already extended his filthy hands to Wan Xiao. Ce wasn't afraid of Shan Ziheo's words. He didn't even look at Shan Ziheo as he walked over to Yun Jian. Under everyone's envious gazes, he walked over and held Yun Jian's small hand in his own. That gentle look was completely different from the one who had beaten Shan Ziheo to death just now. You. Didn't you hear? My dad is the chief of the Longmen City police station. How dare you touch me? Do you want to go to jail? Shan Ziheo raised his head proudly when he saw that Emosen was still walking towards him. Emosen took 2 steps towards Shan Ziheo when he suddenly thought of something. Not long after Ce walked into the zoo, the men who had been monitoring Shan Ziheo took a few interesting photos and developed them on the spot. When Yun Jian participated in the foreign language competition in Foreign Languages High School, Shan Zihao had been flirting with Yun Jian every now and then. Ce had already found out about it then and had asked Mo-san to send someone to follow Shan Zihao. Mo-san took out some of the interesting photos he had obtained from his pants pocket and tossed them onto the floor with a clatter. Young master, Phantom took some interesting photos just now. They're all here, Mo-san said and cackled all of a sudden. Phantom was one of Mo-san's men who had been sent to follow Shan Zihao. When the photos slid onto the floor and scattered around, everyone present saw the contents of the photos. They could clearly see that the main characters in the photos were Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao. Chapter 967. The background of the photo was a dense forest. However, it was not hard to tell that this was the forest where they were resting earlier. The main characters in the photo were undoubtedly Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao. Against the background of the forest, the man and woman in the photo had their backs facing the camera. However, from the camera, it could be seen clearly that the man and woman were naked with their buttocks exposed. Their private parts were tightly connected. Apart from that, one of the photos showed the heads of the horny man and woman. The camera's recording function was very clear. Hence, it was not hard to tell that the main characters were Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao just by looking at the photo. More importantly, Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao, who had gone to the toilet earlier, had not returned after a long time. They did not pay much attention to it at that time. However, now that they thought about it, everyone's faces turned pale. Especially Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao, who were the main characters. No. When Wan Xiao saw the photos, she was so frightened that she ran toward them. Even the makeup on her face seemed to have changed. Wan Xiao reached out with her trembling hands and grabbed all the photos. She tore them into shreds. I have more here. When Mo-san saw that, he took out a stack of photos from his pants pocket and tossed them to them. As one could imagine, Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao looked as if they had eaten *T at that moment. Shan Zihao was so frightened that his face turned pale. However, his first reaction was to turn around and look at Yun Jian. Those who did not know better would have thought that there was something shameful going on between him and Yun Jian. Yun Jian, it's not like that. No, it's not like that. It's that *TCH Wan Xiao who seduced me. I'm a normal man. That's why we. Heh. Shan Zihao's explanation was met with a cold smirk from Yun Jian. You don't have to explain it to me because we're not related at all. Yun Jian scoffed softly. Then, she reached out and held Ci's hand. Shan Zihao's life and death had nothing to do with her. That's right. It's just your own wishful thinking. Ning Lanlan even helped Yun Jian to add insult to injury for Shan Zihao. Compared to Ning Lanlan and Yun Jian, Xiao Jiming and the rest were completely unaware of the ambiguous relationship between Shan Zihao and Wan Xiao. Now that he saw it, he was stunned for a long time. Zihao, you. Xiao Jiming also looked at Shan Zihao in disbelief. At this moment, Xiao Jiming was no less shocked than anyone else. Xiao Jiming and Shan Zihao had already been buddies for a few years. Initially, they became buddies because Shan Zihao was a good person. But at this moment, he realized that he was wrong. Mo-san, get rid of him. Ce glared at Shan Zihao, then ignored him and handed the matter over to Mo's senator. Actually, he had already given Shan Zihao a chance, but Shan Zihao had rejected it. Yes, young master. Mo-san nodded. Then, Ce held Yun Jian's hand and walked out of the zoo. After offending Ce, Shan Zihao's future was basically ruined. Mo-san would definitely not go easy on him. In the end, Mo-san did not kill Shan Zihao because of Xiao Jiming's request. Of course, the biggest reason why Mo-san did not kill Shan Zihao was because they were in Country Z. Country Z was a country ruled by law. It was inconvenient to kill people here. However, Mo-san's way of handling things could guarantee that Shan Zihao would not dare to have any improper thoughts about Yun Jian for the rest of his life. Seeing Ce leaving with Yunjian, Ning Lanlan and the rest quickly followed. However, Ning Lanlan bade farewell to Ce and Yunjian at the entrance of the zoo. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.